We are on.
Oh, hi! Good of you to join us. Welcome to our new episode of PSI. This is Mark. I'm Elmer, and we are PSI.
Piano Scene Investigation.
Absolutely.
So today is April the 4th. Right?
Yes, today's
we are very close to catching up to be contemporaneous with our releases on YouTube. I just put up 0010, 10th episode from the beginning of the year. 3 of the first ones were from sometime last summer or fall, I don't know. I've got short sleeve shirt on, and you can hear that I think the house was open.
Yeah.
Some air blowing in. But then we, as we've said many times, I don't know how much it's actually gotten out, but we went through some serious learning curves.
Yeah, lightly put it.
I mean, we do well at the piano and with musical matters, and
yeah,
of course, as you know now, we can talk anybody's ear off.
Conversations.
They won't listen.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the digital stuff,
oh yeah,
we were born a little too early for that.
Yeah.
But we worked it out. We got a cute little camera that's working good, and anyway, we have been putting up our shows that we've recorded since the beginning of this year, 2024.
Yeah.
And I think we missed 1 week for some reason, I don't remember, but I just posted the 14th of March, with the 21st and the 28th, is it? And then today. So with today's show, once it's finished, I'll have 3 in the can that I've got to get uploaded, but I have a somewhat more spacious week ahead of me. Thankfully, the whole Lenten and Easter season is concluded. That kept one busy for a while.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't even sure I had a brain left afterwards. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, we did 7 o'clock, 8:45, and 11:15 services.
We had Easter Vigil. We started at 9 p.m. We didn't get out of there till 1
in the morning.
1 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So 9 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Wow.
And even then, we were stuck in the parking lot because there was so much heavy traffic. And so we had to wait till everybody.
And then did you come back for Mass on Sunday?
No, didn't have to.
Oh,
thank goodness. So I got to sleep in a little bit.
You guys do.
Well, that's what I was told. So,
So the vigil's the important thing for you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's a big time. But the people who do Easter, who don't go to the vigil, they wind up going to...
Oh, you do have that, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
So we do. So, but anyways, by the way, if you like our content, our conversations, our topics, our show and tell, please subscribe, punch that thumbs up button, and share us with your friends and family.
Yeah, both YouTube and Facebook.
Yes.
Marc and Elmer's PSI. And the and is the ampersand, although you should probably be able to find it anyway. But
yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes the search engines anymore are a little specific.
Yeah.
But it's Marc ampersand. You know what that is? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a Cheerios thing.
Yeah, like General Mills.
Yeah, General Mills, exactly.
Marc and Elmer's PSI, Piano Scene Investigations. Yeah. And we've got a YouTube channel. It's our sign is the magnifying glass.
Yeah, the magnifying glass of the
and then we have The YouTube channel has a really nice background of Franz Liszt's music room in Leipzig when he was there. That's his, place and his piano and everything.
Wow.
That's what that stuff is. That's where it's from. And then I don't remember what the background of our, might be the same actually on our Facebook page. I don't remember at the moment. But anyway, one will lead you to the other. And what I'm really hoping about, I'm hoping that before next week's show, I'll have, including today's, all of them uploaded, and we will finally be contemporaneous, meaning that we record, we upload, and the possible forum of discussion and stuff can become much more contemporaneous and instantaneous, practically.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
like the stuff he's going to bring up today, you may well be able to respond to that next week.
Yeah,
After
hopefully.
the show gets loaded up.
So
We got, what do you want to do first?
I don't know, you got quite a haul here.
Well, I got a few things I wanted to show people.
Okay.
I found some things. There's a book, I actually put a copy of the cover of this book up
Yeah, I noticed.
on the show
Yeah.
because I wanted to show it to him. Would you mind?
Want me to show it?
Yeah. So
Okay.
this is a book I was mentioning 2 or 3 weeks ago on the show. It was specifically on the 14th. We're talking about, and we've talked about it before that. I have background in performance practice. I studied with Malcolm Bilson and really explored 19th century performance practices to some extent on my own, sometimes with other people. This is a book that a friend gave to me. His name's Russ Duffin, right? Yeah, he's a professor, or was anyway, at Case Western Reserve. And it's about equal temperament. Can you show them, just as a review, that big Jorgensen book behind you down there?
Oh, that thing to me.
This is work that was done by Murray Barber at the University of Michigan, the State University. And then Oren Jorgensen followed up on that work. He was a professor of piano tuning and piano technology at the university. And he compiled this amazing volume of, I think there's more than 80 possible temperaments in here, going back to the ancient days. So just tuning, mean tone, Renaissance kind of things, all the way up to the original well-tempered options from the 18th century, Werkmeister to Beispiel, for example, and then we get into the 19th century. And one that I used to keep my last piano and my acoustic piano. I now have a grand digital hybrid, and that is tuned at 432 hertz, and it's in a Werkmeister temperament. I like it in that. I play a lot of music in that. I like the colors of the sound. But I could do tuning myself. My father was a tuner. Mm-hmm. There's a Broadwood tuning from 1880, 85, something like that, which is one of the last ones before it gets to equal temperament. The reality is there are theories for equal temperament going back quite a long time as a mathematical formula, but it was impractical to tune it. And it also seems that what people have found now that we've done more musical archaeology, let's put it this way, it did not become even easily or practically possible to tune reliable equal temperament until around the time of the First World War in the 20th century. This is because we had radio technology, and you know how a lot of tuners would use, what is that called?
Electronic tuners?
Yeah, but the wavelength thing.
Oh.
It's not, is it sonar? Sonar, perhaps. But that's not the word. Oh, oscilloscope.
Oscilloscope.
An oscilloscope, which checks the pitches against waves, sine waves. With that, you can do a mathematically, well, would probably say perfect equal temperament. There were attempts of people trying to do it, but what we know, and frankly what I know, listening more acutely, there's a lot of people that either intentionally aren't doing it or They just don't bother. Because the guy who tunes the piano, for example, at the Columbus Minor Corps,
Yeah.
that's a well-temperament. It's not equal.
Really?
It's got some squeakier intervals here and there, and it's not out of tune.
Yeah.
I think he does it on purpose. And I know that nowadays you can ask certain tuners, if you don't want it in equal temperament, you can ask them if they do well temperament. So there's some guys that do. There are some people around here in Columbus who have specializations in historic temperament tuning. And I like it because the whole argument is, you know, when you go back and you look at, like, Scriabin had the
colors thing.
I forget what it's called. That would be bull crap with equal temperament.
Yeah.
Because what equal temperament does is it makes all the major thirds, all the minor thirds, all the perfect fifths, they're all the same. They all have the same beat. And they've worked out the octave out to point numbers so that you can do them in certain ways. Everything is truly the same. Whether you're in the key of C sharp minor, or D flat minor, or in C minor, or F minor, minor thirds relative to each other, anywhere in the scale are always the same beats, period. Which means there's no color. So that when you read, I'll pull it out, I'll find it sometime. We'll talk more specifically about this. And I've got some stuff I've done for research before. Some quotes from Franz Liszt, for example. Somebody asked him, why did you write O Borgen Source in A flat? And he said, because it has that kind of sparkly quality to it that feels like water dancing in the air, you know, that it seems like the right key for that. And then everybody knows, going back into the classical period, pastoral music, including the Pastoral Symphony, was written in F. And then the relative key to that for stormy stuff, was D minor.
Yeah.
Tempests, for example. There were reasons for that, people. There were reasons, because if you hear a well temperament, and if you go back farther, like the mean tone and stuff, some of the keys, as you get farther out, are not really playable because the temperament, the intervals become so harsh. That's just why when you go back to older music, organ music, you know, especially the organs, because they had to tune the pipes and everything, they just didn't use those keys because the church actually considered them dirty, filthy, or not pure enough.
Right.
It's really cool. If you listen to Haydn's Creation by a performance practice ensemble in a well temperament from that period in C major. C major is made so that it's perfect, so there are no beats. The fifths, the thirds, it's so placid. It's like if you were to see the sunrise over a great lake that is absolutely still at morning. And there's just this sense of breathless, perfect beauty. When you hear those opening C major chords in the Creation, in a well temperament, I'm speaking personally for me, it affects me in a way that it doesn't if I hear it by an orchestra at equal temperament. It does not have the same effect. And it makes sense. I mean, we're beings. I remember, what was that early Next Generation episode of Star Trek where the aliens called us ugly bags of mostly water. They were crystalline creatures, and we were hurting them in a mining thing, and we didn't know. And they referred to us as ugly bags of mostly water.
Yeah.
Well, we are. And just like the moon and the bodies of water have relationships to each other, women certainly know they do too. But I've also felt that I think men do too. Just any of us do, because if we allow ourselves to feel the sensitivity to it, there are energies going around that affect us. And then, of course, there are energies that go around and affect us and we're not aware of them, which gives us cancer. Radio waves are passing all over the place all the time.
Yeah.
But most of them are short enough and weak enough that they really don't have an effect on us, probably very much. Although if you get into an area, for example, somewhere out west or in the world where they're, what do they call it, off the grid?
Yeah.
There's basically nothing electrical happening in the area.
Mhm.
It's a very interesting sensation. Of course, everything is very quiet, but there's a feeling of quietness, but at the same time, a heightened sense of something lovely. Smell, hearing, even the light,
the air,
and the feeling of the air on your skin and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Anyway, this book, which I've never read it page to page. I've kind of read parts of it. And it's speaking in terms of some other things as well. That this guy's making a strong point that we've ruined harmony in terms of what musicians working with non-equal temperaments would have felt and heard and experienced emotionally. So you'd understand why, for all of a sudden, Beethoven writes the D minor. He uses it for the Tempest, for Opus 31, number 2, right? And then there's the G major, which is the first one. It's very interesting, these choices. The first one is with famous second movement, clarinet-like, Weber-like, aria movement,
Yeah.
the second movement of the Opus 31, number 1. And then you have the famous Tempest, Opus 31, number 2. And then you have 31, number 3, which is an E-flat. And E-flat is a wonderful, happy key. Beethoven writes the Emperor Concerto in E-flat.
Yeah.
A lot of brass music is written in E-flat.
The Eroica Symphony.
The Eroica. And the cool thing on the piano is it feels really good.
Oh, yeah.
E-flat feels really nice. Look at it. It's a nice mixture of hills and valleys. The hand seems to rest well on it. But anyway, I wanted to dig out that book and recommend some of this stuff. And we'll get into this. We're going to do methods, and we're going to do maybe some talk about tuning stuff. Now, the next book I wanted to show them.
This one?
I won't talk about all of them.
Okay.
But this one, you guys remember Oliver Sacks, the great surgeon, British, and he especially focused in working in developing new understanding of the human mind. He was particularly famous they made a movie, which Robin Williams was in, Awakenings.
Oh.
That was about Oliver Sacks, where people have this sleeping sickness, and they would, basically go comatose.
Yeah.
And also, he did research with some of these people that suffer from this illness where they get old fast, genetically, they age really fast. But mostly, this had to do with people just like shutting down mentally. And he used L-dopamine experiments, I think. And these people came back to life. I mean, they awakened,
woke up.
They were talking, they were with their partners. The unfortunate thing is that the very sad thing about it was it did work for a period of time. And then they went back. It didn't work permanently.
Yeah.
But he also did a book, The Man Who
mistook his
wife
for a hat.
Yeah. They made an opera of that, actually.
They did.
This guy was really huge back in like the 80s. This is a book I just found recently with thrift books online, Musicophilia. He himself was a very passionate amateur musician. I think he kind of played jazz on the piano, his own stuff. But he loved music, and he felt that there were very strong effects of music on the mind and stuff. And these are his essays and his research regarding that. I haven't had time to read it yet. But he's a wonderful man. I read a lot of his stuff a few decades ago when he was really popular. And you always watch the movie. Robin Williams did a very sympathetic and lovely portrayal.
Robert De Niro was his patient.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a few other things quickly I don't want to show them book-wise. This is, can you show them the slipcover one? Pull the book out in front of the camera and show them.
Okay.
Show them the page quality thing. This is from this is an unofficial promotion, but I have a subscription to this. It's called the Library of America. Show them the book itself, just flip through the pages. They're really well bound, really nice paper.
Yeah, look at that.
And there's all kinds of authors, and plays, novels, poetry, and so forth. And you can choose what you want to get, or you can get the entire library, I suppose, if you really want that. But it features everything from writings from the Founding Fathers, probably even before that as well, I think, throughout American history into the 21st century now. If they become famous enough to win a prize or be quite well known now, they are taken on by the Library of America. This one happens to be Ray Bradbury's collected works. But I have Mark Twain and some other people, and I get these every once in a while. I just wanted to show you because we don't, well, me anyway, I'm interested in a lot more things than music. So show them the Da Vinci book.
Da Vinci book, okay.
Whoa. This is a really wonderful book, taken on by a professor who goes in and looks at lots of great works. Just flip through it so they can see some things. Some wonderful paintings of things in there. And he talks about each one of them historically where they came from. So it's a really remarkable book with all kinds of beautiful paintings and things in it, and really well discussed. But, you know, this big bookshelf you see behind us here, this is particularly part of my library, which includes art books and things like that, which I collect. I found some of these. This also is a thrift book. This one was like, at most $10, I think. And I've got that. Now, then I want you to show them the one under the CDs.
Okay.
This is really cool. I love this woman historically. Gertrude Stein. It was really due to my teacher, Ellsworth Snyder, who was a Fauvist and very interested in all of that kind of art and literature and so forth. And he was a great fan of Gertrude Stein. And I learned to really appreciate her. This book is really amazing. It's put together by a German woman. And it's an incredible collection of oodles and oodles of photographs, which goes chronologically through her life and has a bit of biographical information at the beginning. And then it's sectioned in terms of parts of her life. It starts out with a timeline with important dates, and then it goes through that period with some pictures appropriate to that time with her and other people, her family and other people. And all the biographical not all of them, but a lot of the biographical descriptive moments are actually excerpts from her own writings. So you get a real flavor for the woman in all of her writing and everything. So that's a little bit, well, it's more than a little bit necessarily off the musical path, but for me it's all part of the same thing because I love the French culture from the time of the Impressions, so that's a good idea to see Ravel, going to Poulenc, and all kinds of amazing people writing at the time of the poetry and the writers. Then I have a few recordings I wanted to show them real quick. Okay. Let's start with the bottom.
Let's start with
I don't know if I've showed them that one yet, but
no, you haven't. I haven't seen this.
This guy, I have some of his stuff going back a ways, but I've been studying him a little bit more and reading about Claudio Abbado. He was actually highly regarded by other great conductors.
Well, of course he was.
As himself, somebody really paid attention to for two reasons mostly. Because he was very detailed and devoted to the music, the score, and relatively free of a ton of ego. And I have found some of his recordings, as I've listened to them more, really quite good. These are a collection of various performances when he was the director at Chicago Symphony. And there's some nice things in there, including both the first and second piano concerto Bartok with Polini. And then Shlomo Mentz plays most of the violin stuff, if that's in there. And then there's some symphonic things he does.
Oh, yeah.
Fifth Symphony, isn't it?
Yes, you've got the First Symphony, the Second Symphony, the Resurrection, Mahler, and number 5.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And he does the Lieutenant KJ Suite.
He does the Lieutenant KJ Suite,
Okay.
the Scythian Suite, Chopin Piano Concerto number 2 with Ivo Pogorelic.
That would be interesting.
Pogorelic. Yeah, he must have liked Shlomo Mintz quite a bit. He's got here violin concertos by Mendelssohn and Bruch as well. And the piece de resistance, Berlioz Symphonie Fantastique.
You know, I've got a lot of recordings, a lot of them start going way back.
Yeah.
I've even got some Frederick Stock stuff with Arthur Schnabel.
Oh boy.
Yeah. With Chicago Symphony, but especially Fritz Reiter. Some amazing performances. One of my albums that I have is the Debussy La Mer on one side, and the other side is Rachmaninoff's Isle of the Dead.
Oh,
first time I ever heard that performance, ever heard the piece, was with Fritz Reiter in Chicago. They're a very special orchestra, really cool stuff they did. Had some very interesting directors. I have a 4th Bruckner Symphony with Barenboim, which I really like. And I am lucky I have a few things of Schulte when he was director there. His box sets are like way up there in terms of cost right now. I don't know when I'll ever see them come down to where I'd pay the money to buy them. But they're available. And actually, in that case, I think it's all of Schulte's work with Chicago, but they're massive. I think they're two boxes together. And nowadays, of course, Muti just stepped down, although he's going to remain kind of an important guest conductor. And the news is now, and people are kind of, some excited, some not, that young Finnish guy, Klaus Mäkelä, is apparently signed on to take over Chicago in 26 or 27. He's also right now he's with Oslo Philharmonic and Paris. Is it Paris Opera, I believe?
I think so.
And then he's due to take over the Concertgebouw. And the Dutch are really excited about that.
Really?
But now he's, doing this, and it looks like the plan is he'll be primarily in Chicago and Amsterdam, and then guest conduct in other places like in Oslo. Esa-Pekka Solomon left San Francisco Symphony. They're in money arguments now.
Wow.
And he just said, I'm out of here. So now the word is that maybe Esa-Pekka will take over the Paris Opera if Mäkelä backs away from it.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Good things. But there's that. I think I showed them this last week.
Okay, well, let's show them again. We'll show it again.
This is from Brilliant Classics, but it started out, who was their predecessor?
Bucks.
Yeah.
Bucks.
This is a really cool set of 20 CDs.
Yes.
With sometimes 3 or more piano concertos on each one.
Yes, absolutely.
But they're all relatively, well, what would I say? They're not the major league top piano concertos. The Beethoven, the Brahms, those kind of guys, those aren't on there.
Yeah,
These are not even like probably the Sanson G minor. This is like by other composers, their piano concertos, or maybe lesser known works of some of the players, some of the composers.
Yeah, much nicer packaging than Bach's, though. I mean, look at that. You couldn't do better than that. Can we name a few?
Sure.
Okay, look what you have here. You have Dalbert, Eugen Dalbert, Alkan, Balakirev. You even have Samuel Barber in here. Amy Beach, Berwald, Bronsart, some Chopin. I would imagine it was probably maybe the Krakowiak or something. Clementi, I heard that one. That's actually, I don't know if it's the orchestration of the piano sonata, the C major. Kramer, Czerny wrote for piano and orchestra? Wow. Field, there's even Gershwin in here. Glazunov, Goetz, Goetz, Hensel, Adolf Hensel, Ferdinand Hiller, Hummel, and Kalkbrenner. I'll say that. Kalkbrenner, Lalo.
Love the music of Edward Lalo.
Edward Lalo.
Yeah.
We usually used to yum bum bum. Whatever that thing was. Symphony Espanol.
Mm-hmm.
There's even some list. Liedhof. Liedhof.
Mm-hmm.
Usually
the music box.
Yeah,
The famous
Liedhof.
piece.
Liedhof.
Was that Liedhof?
That one's Liedhof.
Oh,
This one's Liedhof. This
Liedhof.
is Henri Liedhof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually they the pianists perform and record the scherzo from the
Right.
what he calls concerto symphonique. He doesn't just go with piano concerto, not piano concerto. He calls them concerto symphonique for piano and orchestra.
It's like Brahms' second.
Yeah, and supposedly he and Liszt were very, very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when they didn't see each other for almost 50 years, and the next time they saw each other, they were already old men, and
Wow.
they just saw each other and they gave each other a hug and cried and remembered memories from when they were youths. And yeah, that's an interesting union there. You have here also Lyapunov, Serge Lyapunov, MacDowell, Meyer, M-A-Y-R. We even have concertos by Mettner. Wow. Mendelssohn, Moscheles. Here's one I haven't heard in a while. Mosoni, M-O-S-O-N, as in Nancy, Y-I. Mashkovsky. They just discovered a new piano concerto number 2 by him in the last 5 years. Yeah. Pierney.
Pierney.
Pierney. Okay, Pierney. Excuse the French. Roth. I would imagine
Joachim Roth.
Reinecke, Reinberger, Rias, Roussel, Rubinstein, Anton, Sharvenka. I would imagine it's Xavier.
Javier.
Okay. Schumann, Sinding.
Charleston. He's Swedish.
Yeah. Is it Charles?
Yeah.
Sinding? Or is it
And
Christian? Is it Christian? It's Christian.
No, that's singing the Chopin.
Yeah. No, that's Russell Spring.
Russell Spring.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, Russell Spring. Yeah, which is actually much easier than it sounds.
Yeah, it's a very impressive piece. It's not that hard to play.
Yeah. Stavenhagen.
Ooh, it was one of Liszt's last pupils and his secretary.
Yeah.
Bernard Stavenhagen.
Yeah. And Tchaikovsky. I would imagine it would not just be the
Second.
second or the third. Or the concert fantasy, possibly. We even have one for Thalberg. Here's one by Volkmann, and Weber. So they have here as well listing of the pianists: Maria Littauer, Michael Ponti, and Jerome Rose. Jerome Rose. He used to come down here for Sundays at 5.
This I was glad to get. I have a set of cassette tapes.
Yeah.
I made copies for you on
Did?
disc.
Yeah.
A French piano concerto that I bought ages ago, which is now available actually on a CD set, similar to this, with other things, of course, because you didn't
they added
information. Well, I want to get that, but I'm waiting a little bit for the price to come down. This was really good. I got this for basically about $20 plus the shipping.
Yeah.
I don't know if this came from England or Canada. I forget. So that's kind of cool because there's another label, a British label called Hyperion, which is up to number 80 something now.
Something like that, possibly.
They're releasing these basically 2 concerti per disc usually, with some Howard Shelley's one of the pianists. There's a lot of various people that are actually certain pianists have done a lot of work for them.
Oh yeah.
Stephen Huff has got some stuff that he
Yeah.
recorded.
Stephen Huff.
But it's a British project, and they're doing those secondary, tertiary kind of. We don't want to lose them to history, lose them to the dust of time,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And they're making this wonderful series of piano concertos
Yes.
of ones a lot of times by people we haven't heard from.
Yeah.
This last set, I had my eye on for a while when it first came out.
Beautiful.
I think it's manufactured in England, but it fell like close to $20. I bought it for 72 instead of 90 something.
Wow.
This is the collected recordings of Beno Moiseiwicz.
Yes. Congratulations. It's a boy. Take a look at it. He was once considered the artistic heir to Rachmaninoff and Joseph Hoffman.
Amazingly elegant, beautiful pianist. You know, just there's no complexity, which is beyond sounding just facile
Yeah.
for him, but not boring. You know, it was always played with great grace and beauty, line, drive. There's a booklet inside which might be easy to read, which all it is a listing of the recordings, and there's a ton of stuff. You don't want to read all of it, but
Oh, that is a lot.
there's I think 18 or 19 discs, and a lot of piano concerti. Let's say this stuff is probably from 20s through the 40s, but there's also things going up into 50s, and I think possibly in the early 60s. I'm not quite sure. I remember when he died.
Some of these works he recorded twice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wow. So this is really everything.
I haven't listened to it yet. I just got it in the mail. What is this, Thursday? Monday or Tuesday, I think. Or Tuesday, Friday.
Wow. Look at that.
A lot of really cool stuff. A lot of the, standard concertos from the time. He was, to a certain extent, based in London. So the artists, the orchestras, the conductors and such they worked with may not be also familiar, especially going back before the Second World War.
Mm. It says here, Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto Number 2.
Yeah.
In G minor. I believe it's in G major, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah. Because the first one, the B flat minor.
Yeah.
That's in there too.
Wow.
And he's interesting. What's that Scandinavian composer shows up there a few times? Plays a number of pieces by them. Let me see the box.
I forget the name of the composers.
And the last, I think,
Palmgren?
Sailing Palmgren.
Sailing. Yeah, Sailing.
There's quite a bunch
Yeah.
of pieces by him. And the last two CDs in here are lots of pieces, small pieces. Of course, they're put on these CDs, but they have composers that I don't always know so well. But he's got some other things. He's got Abram Chasins, Jacques Bear. He's got some Metner, Godowski. There's quite a bunch of things in here. It's insult.
Yeah. He does some
Here's
Chelsea.
a ton of different pieces on it. Delib as well, Rameau. But so Palmgren shows up a few times. Must have been interested in him.
No, Pasquier from the one.
I was looking at this for a while, folks, because I do have some Beno Moiseiwicz.
Yeah.
And whenever I heard him play, I just thought, holy smokes,
Yeah.
This guy was something else. And I think, I don't know a lot about his career and so forth, that I do know. I think that he was greatly based in England, and I don't think he had a massive American career over here. I don't know that he came over that often. There were certain people, they didn't need it, didn't want it. Nathan Milstein, came out with Horowitz and Piatigorsky. Those were the three guys that came out. Piatigorsky took the first job as the principal cellist with Berlin. Barely when he first got out of Russia, they said, "Holy crap, we want him." And I don't know how long he stayed there, but obviously not forever because he was Jewish. They were all Jews. Horowitz, of course, went to Hamburg, but made his biggest first splash in Paris. Milstein found his way to London. He was in the United States sometimes, but he's happy in London. So that's where he stayed, played, recorded.
Yeah.
One of my earliest European LP Bach sets is the Bach suites and sonatas for solo violin, partitas, and sonatas for solo violin with Nathan Milstein. And, oh, wow. I still treasure it. I've got this box. It's got a picture of him with a really nice wristwatch on.
Oh.
He was much younger back then. Yeah, some of them just never made it all the way to America.
Yeah.
Fortunately, for various reasons, Rubinstein re-embraced us, but he wasn't real excited with his first visit to the States.
Yeah, I know.
Because actually, the critics were pretty hard on him.
Yeah, they were.
And he said, to be honest, they were probably right.
Yeah.
That he got away with murder with a lot of stuff. But he also didn't like the piano that he had to play.
Yeah.
He's playing cannabis at his first tour. And then he had some wild experiences. He was supposed to play in San Francisco, and that was the year the great earthquake happened out there and destroyed everything. He wasn't there when it happened, but I think he either didn't go all the way or he eventually did go but then left because there's nothing standing.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of a heavy, traumatic trip overall for him. He was only, 18 or 19
yeah,
years old?
something like
very
that.
young.
He was very young, yeah.
But fortunately, he gave us another shot.
Yeah, he did.
Eventually became a citizen, of course.
Yeah. But he also talked about how, back in those days, he would drop his 1% of the notes.
Oh, yeah.
50% of the notes.
He used to say, what he did say is, cumulatively, I've dropped enough notes in my career to have a whole second career for the missed notes.
That's a good one.
That was a long career.
Yeah, very long career.
I could make up a whole second career from all the missed notes. Yeah.
Well, by the way,
those are my goodies.
Okay. Well, by the way, if you've been following us on every episode, I did for the last couple episodes mention maybe some assignments that we had given ourselves and our viewers.
Yeah.
Okay. The first assignment was if you were to throw a party, any kind of party, birthday party, or just a social gathering, name 10 composers you would like to invite to it, and why. So, the second assignment was 5 musicians you would like to meet when you get to heaven. And the third assignment was to go back and listen to our opening intro to our episodes and try to see how many of the little themes you could figure out or thematic ideas that I borrowed to put this thing together. So, and anyways, I was hoping we could do the reveal maybe close to the end of this episode. Okay. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, now, I have some goodies here. Have you ever heard Toscanini conduct Gershwin?
No.
No? Well, you will now. I have found here in one of my outings to a Goodwill store, Toscanini plus Goodman. I believe it's Benny Goodman.
Oh, Benny Goodman. Wow.
Equals Gershwin! Exclamation point. Yeah, that's what it says. And we have the works of Gershwin here, Rhapsody in Blue, An American in Paris, and the Concerto in F.
So plays the concerto.
Who plays the concerto? It is Oscar Levant.
Oh, wow.
So he actually got to work with the man Toscanini, and the Rhapsody in Blue is
Oscar
Earl
Levant
Levant, yeah.
was a very famous pianist. He's a friend of Gershwin.
Yeah.
And he built a huge movie career for himself. He was a very funny guy, irascible, chain smoking Jewish guy. But when he sat down at the piano, he was all serious.
Oh yeah, he was very.
He was really well trained, excellent pianist.
Oh yeah,
really good. But and on top of that, he was just such a comedian to do just such fluky stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a YouTube video of his interview. You can check it out. He's in there in a nice suit. No, I don't remember if it was a suit, but it was a nice shirt and pants. But he brings his knee up like this, and he's barefoot. So I thought that was quite humorous. And so he's sitting there, with a cigarette and answering questions and elaborating on this story and that story. But here you have Toscanini conducting an American in Paris.
What's the orchestra? Is it NBC?
It is the. I'm looking.
New York.
Wow, what is the orchestra? Oh, it is the NBC Orchestra.
His orchestra. Wow.
It is the NBC Orchestra. So we have the Concerto in F, performed by Oscar Levant, conducted by Toscanini, and the NBC Orchestra. Rhapsody in Blue with Earl Wild and Benny Goodman at the clarinet.
Wow.
Now, and
this is one of the reasons why Earl Wild became so famous. He was, of course, a New York-based pianist, musician, so forth. But he was the pianist for the NBC Symphony Orchestra, which was handpicked and put together for Toscanini. And Wild was the orchestra pianist. That's no mean feat.
Okay.
And then he went off into NBC and did a lot of TV stuff. He did arranging, composing, even recordings and things like that for years. He made a beaucoup amount of money from doing all that kind of stuff. And this is, I think, part of the reason why later on in his career, when he started to, come out and play serious music again, it was free to do it more. People didn't take him seriously, I think, because they figured, he's always been doing all that music as entertainment shit for television, radio, all that kind of stuff. And didn't eventually people realized, man, this guy plays like Horowitz.
Yeah, he does.
He has a comparable technique. Earl Wild had totally right up there with the best of the old school guys.
Liszt.
Do you know what his training was?
He studied with Egon Petrie.
Studied Petrie.
Yeah, Egon Petrie, and that's an interesting story in his little memoirs. He called up and asked if he could accept him as a student or audition for him. And he says, why, sure. He says, I like to listen to you play. And he says, okay. So Earl asks him, so how will I recognize you? He says, I look like your average life insurance salesman. So just look for me. I have a suit on. I'll have a tie. I look like he compared himself to that. Anyways, the second half of this recording, the tracks 6, 7, and 8, you have here Gershwin, The Man I Love, track 7, a composer named Warren, I Only Have Eyes for You, and number 8, Zez Confrey, Dizzy Fingers.
Yeah.
But they are performed with Benny Goodman, with Johnny Green, and the Hollywood Bowl Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, cool. Where'd you pick that up?
I would imagine it was at one of my outings at the Goodwill or thrift stores. It feels dusty.
Yeah, this historically would be really quite
hard to
something.
find. You couldn't find. Where have you seen a recording of Toscanini conducting American in Paris? I haven't seen that.
Group called Vintage Jazz Classics.
Yeah.
What's really interesting, I mean, Gershwin was a composer to be reckoned with in the 30s. And I could imagine, Toscanini being in New York and everything. What's interesting to me is he recorded this stuff.
Yeah,
so
he did.
Somebody must have persuaded him to do it. I rather doubt Toscanini you think, was just instantaneously drawn
John the
to
Gershwin?
doing Gershwin and jazz.
You know, I'd like to know what the story is behind it. And maybe you know any stories about how Toscanini was encouraged to do some Gershwin.
Gershwin was kicking butt in the 30s.
Yeah.
Wrote all these wonderful musicals, and then he was doing the serious music, and of course Paul Whiteman's 1924, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The famous Carnegie Hall recital where they introduced jazz as the idea of a serious American creation.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where the Rhapsody in Blue came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well as other things.
Now, some people get this mistake, make this mistake. The Rhapsody in Blue performances that you hear today was actually an orchestration done by Freddie Grofé.
Yeah.
And when they first premiered Rhapsody in Blue with Gershwin at the piano, Paul Whiteman Orchestra, it's actually more of a jazz band.
Yes.
If you've ever seen the orchestration of that, it's very different.
Yeah.
Here you actually have a choir in the back, a banjo, and a second piano to go along with it. Saxophones.
Years ago, I remember, I don't know if I own the album, LP, but I remember very clearly listening to it, at least a copy of it at the Wittenberg Library at the university. Michael Tilson Thomas, when he was young, playing with the original orchestration for Rhapsody in Blue, and George Gershwin was playing on the piano roll.
Yeah.
So they accompanied him playing the piano roll. He was on the piano roll with the original orchestration. It was really cool. It was very eye-opening.
Yeah, it is very eye-opening.
You know?
I think I have a actual Earl Wild recording of it.
Really?
Of him doing the original Paul Whiteman orchestra with the orchestra. And he says that that playing it in its original form with the Paul Whiteman, the piano playing was really different back then, he says. It was the playing of Rhapsody Blue was much snappier.
Yeah.
And the tempos were quicker.
Yeah.
It was more flamboyant.
Well, and I seem to remember something too, that Gershwin had not figured out all of the piano work.
Exactly, yep.
I mean, I hadn't written it all down.
Yeah, but it was more,
so that he was actually, I don't think he was improvising it at the concert, but
he was
just within the last 48 hours coming up with the last parts of the piano part that he wanted to play.
Yeah.
And they weren't written down.
Nope,
they didn't have time to do it.
Yeah.
So that boy was something else.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting, you see sometimes some video of him up on YouTube playing.
Yes, you do.
Little things like that.
Yeah.
He was a very classically trained, really.
Yeah, he was.
Conservative pianist at the keyboard. He's, well, in general, I mean, I remember my father saying this about it, and, you know, there was kind of this attitude when I first was studying piano a long time ago. It was coming out of a tradition where, well, like Ellsworth said, when you watched Rachmaninoff or Horowitz play, he said it was interesting to him, you know, maybe to see what they were doing, if you could tell. But there was nothing special to watch. He said it was all in the ears. He said Rachmaninoff was the dullest pianist to ever watch. Because he just was huge, tall, sat and just played and had this expressionless face most of the time. Sometimes he said his eyes would change when he played, but he said, oh my God, the sounds, the colors, and the things that would come out were extraordinary.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there was definitely, as we talked about before in the French school, this whole idea of just making it, you know, seem as facile as possible and just like blow people away, like, you know, have your cigarette be playing the, you know, some crazy Liszt piece, you know, with your left hand, you know, just.
I'll leave this here for you if you want to
Gershwin, when you see him play, I like that. He, well, like, there's one I've watched recently that was up on the news. He's him playing I Got Rhythm as an encore.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's very impressive. It's very straightforward.
It is.
It's not affected in any kind of way.
No, it's not. No.
It's just a straightforward playing of it. I wouldn't say slapdash.
Yeah.
But his playing is very efficient.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
just
Yes. Then the end.
Yeah.
The goes out at the end.
And even the way that he carried himself, he walks across over to the piano.
Notice how straight his back is.
Yeah.
When he leans, even when he leans forward.
From the hip.
Yeah.
Totally
From the hip. His back is still straight.
Yeah.
He's leaning like
Yeah.
this.
Not collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This, like we all do, but
Yeah.
more like this.
Very beautifully dressed.
Yeah.
And stuff, just the way he plays. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's sad that
'Cause
we lost him too early. We
He
really
was
did.
38 years old when he died. He had brain
Yeah.
something. Was it cancer
I don't
or something? But he had brain surgery in California in 1938. So come on, it was way too soon for surgery. Like I mean, they to the extent that they knew what they were doing, they knew what they were doing, and it was probably the best surgeons, some of the best in the country. They didn't make it.
Yeah.
He was out there in Hollywood to do some work, and anyway, there's a good thing. We got to tell the story because I don't think it's ever actually made it up on our show yet.
What is it?
When he went to France to meet.
Oh, the neighbor.
So Gershwin, at the height of his career, really, but he's at a point now where he's become, famous, and he wants, this is post Paul Whiteman in that concert.
Make sure you listen to this.
Really wanting to make a statement about jazz becoming something incredibly significant in higher art.
Yeah.
And it's not just, slaves singing some songs, something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, back that time, it's the white people appropriated it and turned it into something more special. But he took some time off. By now, he's written oodles of famous musicals. Yeah. He's had the 1924 concert with Paul Whiteman.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who George Gershwin is.
Yeah.
He goes to France for 6 months, and his idea is he wants to study proper orchestration because that's his weakness. Yeah. So, for example, Freddie Grofloy, who wrote the Great Canadian Suite, worked for Gershwin and actually orchestrated most of his music. Any of the orchestra stuff, that was not Gershwin. That was Freddie Grofloy who wrote it out for him. His suggestions, his ideas. But anyway, he went to see Ravel. Now, Ravel is Ravel by this time, big time. And his beautiful mansion on the outskirts of Paris and everything. So Gershwin goes and Edward comes to see him. The butler answers the door, says, "Please come in." Goes sit in the parlor. And Gershwin himself is very tall, very garrulous, very New Yorky Jew,
Yeah.
Not in a raucous way, but he actually is quite an elegant dresser.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a sophisticated person people hang out with. Ravel comes in, this prim, tiny little French guy,
Yeah.
They sit down, he has strong coffee and very fine china.
Yeah, kind of like what we're doing.
And it says, here you go. His Arbuckles from Tucson.
Yeah.
And he says, well, Monsieur Ravel, he says, I have actually come because I want to study orchestration with you. You're, in most people's opinion, the finest orchestrator in the world. And I would love to take some lessons from you, whatever you'd be willing to teach me. And Ravel says, well, your reputation has already made it here to France. You're quite famous, Mr. Gershwin. And he said, you've written some wonderful music, a lot of great things. And he said, I'm just curious. He says like this, holding his coffee cup like this, apparently.
Yeah.
How much money have you made, in the last, year or two from your work? Starts to sip the coffee. Gershwin tells him something, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Ravel snorts his coffee out of his nose.
That's what he did.
And then he wipes himself, puts his cup down on the table, and he leans forward and he says, Monsieur Gershwin, it is I who should study with you.
That's one of the best
Go
stories.
again, Georgie Porgy.
Yes, one of the best stories. But
No disrespect to Ravel, my God.
no.
But America's produced some good ones.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, eventually he did study orchestration.
Mhm.
You know which book he used? Okay, he studied from a book. It's a textbook. It's just called Orchestration. It's by an author named Cecil Forsyth.
Huh.
Cecil is spelled Cecil. Last name Forsyth, Forsythe. Cecil Forsyth. So then that's how he learned how to orchestrate.
Is he American or British?
I don't know where Cecil Forsyth is from. I have absolutely no idea. But that's how he studied orchestration, basically. Now, mind you, Earl Wild records Rhapsody in Blue maybe 3 or 4 times in his lifetime. And I later found out from one of our talks at his master class that, he says, from the orchestration of Rhapsody in Blue, and even in Concerto in F, he says he couldn't help notice that there is some clumsy writing here.
Sure.
And so, Earl Wild being Earl Wild,
he fixed
he
it up.
decided to doctor Rhapsody in Blue and Concerto in F. He
Good.
doesn't say anything in
Good for
the
him.
program notes, but he just did it on his own and just said, I'd like to do this, I'd like for the violins to do this, I would like to double up with the violins with using the cellos and the violas, and and the rest is already recorded history.
Sonic history.
So yeah.
Well, he did that kind of work
Yeah,
for
he
years
Oh yeah.
when he was working at NBC.
Yeah, he
He
did.
did orchestration all the time for the shows with the live orchestras.
Yes. But so when you listen to Rhapsody in Blue, you may not be listening to just Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. You might be listening to Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue for a while.
Cool.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah. So, but he did talk about that when during his master classes.
Very good.
So interesting note to take. So here, my next show and tell, I have here the latest release from Marston Records.
Mine's
I
on
don't
the
know.
way.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
they told me,
What?
is everything okay in it? Because they had stopped and then changed something, and then they're sending it out now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I hope this is one of the good ones.
Well, but they'll supplement it if they did.
Yeah.
Remember was it the Robert Gold?
Yeah, it was the Robert Gold.
Marston is this wonderful
Marston.
sound engineering, and they're in the business of bringing
Reviving.
back old piano and old vocal recordings with the most extraordinarily genius engineering going on nowadays. And one of the guys' name is Marston. What's his first name?
Ward.
Ward Marston.
Yes.
And then a companion friend of his
J. Richard Harris.
are the ones putting these out. And then the cool thing is, they're very well known. They've got history and they go back a ways. In some cases, these recording projects are paid for individually by a family or people who are very passionate about the performer or the project or something they're doing. And that's the way these things happen. We're both subscribers in the piano part of it.
Yeah.
And go ahead and tell them, though. This is the one I'm expecting to show up. I haven't received it yet.
This collection is called Landmarks of Recorded Pianism. But this is volume 3. I don't know.
There's 2 other ones.
There's 2 other ones, so I don't know what the other 2 were. Do you have the other 2?
No, but they're available.
Okay.
You can always order stuff separately out of there. These usually come about 4 times a year, is it?
Yeah, something
3 or 4
like that.
times a year. They have a special one that they put a newest one, and as a subscriber, you get it. The cool thing too is that as a subscriber, you get these at a discounted rate, and anything you purchase from them at a discounted rate. So,
Well, wait till I tell you what song this
Yeah,
is. Here, let me
I'm
show
curious.
quick show here.
it's not a
This is
very
what it looks
interesting
like.
looking cover. I thought doesn't really give you that.
It doesn't grab you.
Give anything away.
Yeah,
It's not. It's not one particular artist. Just
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it came from the 30s or 40s.
Yeah,
or
that's
something
cool.
like that. You know? So, but anyways, check out what we have here. There's 2 CDs in this thing. CD number 1 has Simon Barrere.
Ooh, Simon Barrere.
Simon Barrere,
The Russian guy.
Yes.
Had a heart attack playing the piano.
Piano. Was it the Greek? I think
Greek
it was the
concerto, he died. Yeah.
What a way to go.
Yeah.
All right, so his program here is interesting. It starts off with track 1, introductory announcement. Track 2 is him playing popular melodies from the first movement of Tchaikovsky's Concerto Number 1. Which melodies? We don't know. It could be, it could be anything. All right, the next pianist here is Nathaniel Dett.
Oh.
D-E-T-T.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's a composer.
Yeah.
And apparently he's playing 2 of his works. The Barcarolle Number 3 from the Bottom Suite. And, boy, this is hard to read. Okay. Track 4 is Mammy, Number 4, from Magnolia Suite.
Mm-hmm. There was a period of time in especially the 20s. There's the guy that wrote the you know the piece.
Yeah, David Guillen's
David
harmonica
Guillaume.
player.
The harmonica player.
Yeah.
David Guillaume wrote some stuff, and there was some other composers who were looking at black minstrel traditions and looking at it from a folk music perspective. You know, because Bartok was doing his thing.
Yeah.
There was that was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Percy Granger was going around and bringing up English and Australian songs and playing them. That Grieg had already been doing the Norwegian thing before that. So Grieg and Dvorak doing their thing, Brahms a little bit of the gypsy stuff. They're maybe the ones who began this whole curiosity about the music of the people. And that really moved into, especially after the beginning of the 20th century, very early on, especially when they had the records, because this is what Bartok did.
Yeah.
He actually took a gramophone machine around with him, and he made records of these people singing or playing the music for their songs. And he said the hardest part was coaxing the people to do it.
Yeah.
Getting them to give it up and do it. But in the United States, we got into it as well. And interestingly, I played on Good Friday, which actually is a strange name because it's a very somber service.
Yeah.
But I played Burley, Howard Burley. It was
something like that.
and he's a black composer.
Yeah.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
Yeah.
Beautiful arrangement. It's a song, and I just simply transcribed it for piano solo and played it. Oh, people were crying after it was over. It's a very moving piece, especially in that moment.
Yeah.
But he even writes a little thing ahead of it about where the music comes from, the tradition of gospel and minstrel music and things like that. And it's an improvised thing that came out of the people. It's not written down. It doesn't come from a grand legacy like Western classical music or something like that. But the problem sometimes I remember about the David Guillaume harmonica player, there's some little words that he has in it about the player playing his little pickaninnies dancing around. Oh, he's talking about the little black kids.
Yeah.
Pickaninnies.
Yeah.
There's some serious white racism that's mixed in with it.
Yeah.
But it's always worth looking at because it's just really, I mean, music might have been lost if it hadn't been, reconfigured or recorded or something like that. But I'll shut up about that. But it's not that big a deal. But I thought it's interesting and sometimes really fun music. Guillaume's harmonica player's a gas to play.
Oh yeah, it is.
And isn't Abram Chasen's the one that plays at the recording?
Byron Janis does.
Byron Janis
does.
And I think it was David Saperton who made a recording of it.
David Saperton did as well.
It was Godofsky's son.
David Guion?
No, David Saperton.
Saperton.
The pianist.
Yeah, David Saperton was. Yeah.
It's really cute.
Well, it's interesting. He did arrange it for two pianos as well.
Really?
There is an arrangement. I have it.
Wow,
We'll look at it sometime.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, but he must have really liked that work. Now, this next work, or this next pianist, we were at Nathaniel Dett.
Yeah.
So the next one is Jan Smetterlin.
Oh, Smetterlin.
You've heard of it?
I have a full CD of his. I had planned some stuff. I got it when I was interested in the whole French school thing. He's not French.
Yeah.
But I think he was
Belgian?
Polish or Belgian. Yeah.
I was thinking Belgian.
Yeah.
Now, is he a pianist or is he a composer? I don't know.
Pianist.
He is a pianist. Okay. Because here they have the whole recorded performance of a Piano Concerto No. 2 in F minor by Chopin.
I have that on that CD.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The next pianist. I've
That
never
was
heard of.
good. I mean, well-trained pianist, played with it.
Adelina Dallara.
Yeah.
You've
she
heard of
was
her?
a student at Brahms.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. This is an important lady.
Okay. Adelina Dallara. Track 8, she speaks of her studies with Clara Schumann.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
She speaks of her studies with Clara Schumann, and then tracks 9 through 11 performs the Piano Concerto in A minor by Schumann.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she wasn't a Brahms student. Maybe she was
Clara's?
Clara's. But yeah, that's what's so remarkable.
She could have crossed paths
I
with
mean,
Brahms.
isn't that cool?
She could have crossed paths with Brahms.
I know about it, but I've never heard this. I would love to. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Elsie Hall starts off in CD number 2. And she is playing Bach's Gavotte in D minor and the Musette in D from English Suite number 6 by Bach.
I remember hearing about her. That was one of her specialties. She played a lot of Bach. She was an English lady.
Yeah, she does play Bach, a lot of it. Prelude and Fugue, F minor from Well-Tempered Clavier, Book 2. And next couple tracks, she's playing Handel. The Allegro from Suite number 7, G minor. Allegretto from Suite number 14 in G. Toccata from Sonata number 6 in A by Paradis.
Paradis.
Okay. Yeah, they got a lot of tracks for Elsie Hall here.
Paradis was a lady composer.
Who?
She was a lady composer.
Paradis.
Teresa Paradis. Yeah.
Wow, I did.
She
not
was
know
a
that.
contemporary Mozart's.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah, I played a piece by her.
you did.
Yeah, I wonder if you recognize it. Da dum da dee da da dum da 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 dee ba 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 da da dum. You don't know this?
I don't know.
I played it. It was a E flat major. What do you call it? Yum da dee da da dum.
Sicilian.
Sicilia, yeah, by Paradis,
Okay.
and I arranged it kind of myself, making
Cool.
it a little richer. But
Do you ever write these things down?
some of them.
I'm gonna have to get on you, Mark. I'm gonna have to get on you. Okay, you need to share. He's been holding back on me, folks.
Well, I picked up. I just played for him
We made a deal.
my version of what is that Chopin list thing? Meine Freude,
Yeah,
Moja Peugeotka.
Yeah.
It's just the song about being in the room and you're in love and you hear the pigeons cooing outside the window and stuff. Well, there's a really famous recording by Rosenthal where he has these scales and these different things that he does. Who knows? I mean, he studied with Liszt.
Yeah.
Who knows where they came from? If they came from Liszt or they're just Rosenthal's.
Those additions.
But
yeah.
it's
Could be.
seriously dressed up more than what's in already.
Yeah.
An impressive transcription by Liszt. I just picked them up off the recording.
Yeah.
Just copied it, and I did a few of my own things a little bit here or there. So this would be cool. and just add on to it. But I always feel that way about Liszt.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already said this on a show. I remember editing that. Liszt is one of those composers you can kind of play around with because he did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think his stuff was written in stone.
No, it doesn't.
And the style sort of did. Whereas
it depends on the piano too.
With Chopin, I just generally, you don't tend to go to Chopin with that same kind of attitude.
No,
I mean,
really.
the cool thing is, for me, having finally heard Friedman, really play a lot of stuff. That's if that has anything to do with the real Chopin style.
Yeah.
Well, there's something definitely about the style that has been lost. Mm-hmm. I love Rubinstein. Grew up with Rubinstein. Love this stuff. Yeah. But when you listen to what he does compared to what Friedman does, and Friedman studied with Mikuli, right? Or Mikuli or somebody like that. I forget, but Friedman had a connection because people used to say that he was a descendant from the Chopin tradition.
Yeah.
And that has to do with rhythm, articulation, the dance and the music and stuff, and improvisatory quality. It doesn't change anything in music. Yeah. It's all Chopin. Yeah. But he plays it in a kind of way which is revelatory.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
could be the Polish mentality, language.
Yeah, but then Rubinstein, followed him.
Yeah, I know.
He became the great Chopinist, and it's a very different kind of heroic Chopin play. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. We have some Mendelssohn.
Who's playing that?
That's Elsie Hall. She's playing some Mendelssohn. It's a piece from the Kinderstücke, number 2. Now, who is this composer? Bargiel. Bargiel. Never heard of this composer.
Is still Elsie playing?
Yep, still Elsie. And it's the Bagatelle in D, Opus 42. She plays also on track 8, Niels Gade. G-A-D-E, Niels. Yeah. It's the Ringeltons in A minor, Opus 36. She plays the Rondoletto from the Sonata for the Young by Schumann. So he had written like 3 or 4 of those for his kids. Yeah. She plays as well the Arabesque by Schumann. Here is an Etude, Opus 49 by Meyer. Is it Charles? Could be Charles. The Minuet from the Sonatina by Ravel. And here you get a complete performance of the Partita number 2 in C minor by Bach.
She must have been a hell of a pianist. I've seen her in writing, her name mentioned, because she seemed to have been like one of the earlier. Obviously, she plays a lot of different things, but I remember, I think it's probably in Schoenberg's book, where I remember that name coming around, because she's like antecedent to Rosalind Turek.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, a real Bach specialist pianist. Yeah. It's very interesting in the earlier 20th century how much people were playing Bach. Of course, Skladowska, I think, had a huge effect going to the harpsichord and doing things. But there were other people doing so. There's a very famous story. That before, he was known as a Liszt pianist from the beginning, Claudio Aurel.
Oh, yeah.
He studied with Frederick Lambert, who was a student of Liszt. But what was interesting is that when you look at his earlier concert programs from earlier in the 20th century, he played a lot of Bach. Johann Sebastian, the real stuff, not Busoni transcription stuff, Bach. And what was a really cool story was, I have the CD that they finally released. Yeah. He recorded in New York for RCA the Goldberg variations in the late 30s or something like that. Very, let's say 38, 39 or something like that. Maybe even 40. But about the same time, that was the Blitzkrieg. The Nazis came in, they hit Belgium, Holland, and started to go into France and Paris. And Landowska had to leave. There were people who were friends of hers who cared a great deal about her. Because, when she left Paris, she went to Connecticut to where's Yale? Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
But that
Yeah.
city. I forget what it's called. I'm sorry, people.
You'll figure it out. Post it.
Yeah. Anyway, she went there. They got her house.
Yeah.
And they got her harpsichord, the same type play, all of it, everything, and set her up. And she immediately started to do some house concerts and stuff like that. But she needed money because she left everything, her home, her everything, you know, her instrument, all that in Paris. And she came over to the States basically, you know, not with nothing.
Yeah.
And so these people really, they went to New York and they appealed to RCA. They said, you know, we've got this extraordinary musician here. You know who she is. Yeah, I know she is. She was older by then. This is 1940.
Right.
And she goes back to being born at least, I think she's older than Arthur Rubinstein.
Oh, yeah.
Born in the 70s anyway.
Yeah.
So she's in her 60s, I think,
Yeah.
when she had to leave and come here. And interesting because she lived to be at least well into her 80s or 90s or something like that. And there's some wonderful recordings that we made in the States. So much stuff that she did. But anyway, she thought, well, it'd be really great if she could do a big concert in New York of the Goldberg Variations, and then they could record them.
Yep.
So they did that, and she recorded on her big harpsichord the Goldberg Variations. And then they went to Claudio Arrau.
Yeah.
This is the really cool story about what a great guy he was. You know, he said, they said, Mr. Arrau, you know, Miss Landowska has had to relocate to the United States recently because of the situation in Europe, and she's, you know, needs to make some money because she left everything, she lost everything in Paris, and she has recorded the Goldberg Variations. And we were wondering if you would mind if we would put yours back for a year and let hers be the big new release of the Gold. And without missing a step, Arrau said, absolutely, by all means. I adore Miss Landowska, and you know, this is an important thing that she's done. By all means, you know, just don't worry about it. I'm happy to do this. So they released one of Landowska's Goldberg Variations in 41 or 42.
Yeah.
50 years later.
50.
There's some people in the
vaults.
in the vaults at RCA digging through old tapes.
Yeah.
And they came upon one that was closed shut, still with the tape around it and everything.
Yeah.
Never, because once they put it away, you know, kept it nicely.
The archives. Yeah.
They dug it out and they opened it up. And of course, you know, Arrau was known more for Liszt and Brahms and big concerto playing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he was a huge Bach pianist early in his career.
Yeah.
And the guy opened it up and he said, you know, he almost dropped it on the floor because right there it said Claudio Arrau, 1940 or something. Goldberg Variations.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when I got the news about it because I bought the CD right away.
Yeah.
I bought it from that guy that had the record store in Madison.
Oh.
The couple shows ago I showed you the picture of it, Charles.
Yeah. And I had it on cassette.
Yeah.
Cassette tapes.
And I love the CD, and it's a wonderful recording. It's so Arrau. You know, it's that lovely tone, lovely approach. It doesn't have that wow electricity of Glenn Gould.
Yeah,
Or even the tempi that like Viking or Olsen's playing lately. No, it's just a lovely performance.
Absolutely.
And it's very insightful too because given where he came from, the tradition that he came out of, it's interesting to hear a performance of Bach before the Second World War played from a school where we often think, oh, you know, they just bastardized all the great classic stuff and, you know, fooled around with it. But at the same time, I mean, there's also that box that I have with Walter Kiesecke playing all that Bach as well.
Yeah.
And it's very strange because I know that Bach was kind of brought back by Mendelssohn in Leipzig in the 1820s. He gave a great performance at the St. Matthew or St. John Passion.
St. John.
Was it St. John? And thereafter, there was Bach, and then composers were so affected by him, they wrote transcriptions.
Yeah.
Liszt and Busoni, for example.
Yeah. August Straddle.
But then when you start to read about like Samuel Feinberg,
did
who talked about, as a student at his examination, he'd been doing this since he was a teenager.
Yep, yes.
He learned all the preludes and fugues by memory, and as a student graduating from the Moscow Conservatory, he, in addition to his program that he provided to the jury, he gave them all 48 preludes and fugues of Bach, which he was perfectly happy to play for them.
Wow.
And they chose something like more than half a dozen, in addition to his whole program.
Wow.
And he played everything by memory, and they said it was so amazing that the jury spontaneously gave up and gave it a standing ovation. So there is this longer tradition of really
learning Bach,
passionate, original Bach playing and performing.
Sass did it too.
That we were, I thought, a little bit misled. I mean, somehow when I was in school, it's like, I know that, there was Landowski, and then people kind of, Landowski and that monster. Which, of course, I find her fascinating, and I find her interpretations remarkable and very insightful.
Yeah.
Screw the performance practice. I mean, it's, in a sense, she's performance practice from the early 20th century.
Yeah.
That's a particular kind of instrument.
Yeah.
But, Gustav Leonhardt came on and other people, but, anyway, I thought it was a good story, and it just really interesting. But there were some pianists like Feinberg, this lady. Eventually, there was a woman named Rosalind Turk who came along, who was a big Bach pianist. She was kind of like another, not Glenn Gould.
No, she's not.
But another equally highly regarded pianist.
Yes.
She studied with, was it Claude Frank or something in New York?
It was some lady she studied with.
Adele Marcus.
It could be Adele Marcus, and it's interesting. I remember reading about her lessons with whoever it was that she was at Juilliard, and she said she studied with. Well, I remember she had a conversation with some lady, and she said she went back to her dorm, and she had this dream or something, and it kind of inspired her to a newer approach to Bach, her approach to Bach. Yeah. And so she went to the practice room and started practicing Prelude and Fugue, and she brought it in to her teacher. And her teacher says, wow. He says, that's quite good. He says, that's very interesting. It's insightful. It's unique. Mm-hmm. But he says, but that approach to Bach, I highly doubt, this is the words from her teacher, I highly doubt you can sustain that through the entire, through Bach's, complete works for keyboard. And so she said from there on, she worked like the devil to get it to that level, since that day.
I think Bach is so amazing because you could do, I've got performance by, what's his name? Jacques Lussier, whatever.
Yeah.
The French
Lussier.
Jazz musician.
Yeah.
And the Swingle singers.
Yeah.
From the British chorus that did all the Bach stuff.
Yeah.
It's Carlos Williams. Wendy
Carlos.
William and then Wendy.
Walter Carlos.
Walter, that's what it was.
Walter Carlos and Wendy. Yeah.
And then, of course, everybody. There was Virgil Fox played Bach, or E. Barnabas played Bach.
Yeah.
The Gould played Bach, Rosalind Turk played Bach. Yeah. Bach is so amazing.
The Japanese electronic.
You can...
Guitaro.
The music has some kind of integrity.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean the actual holding together.
Yeah.
Where no matter who plays it, how they do it, or what they do to it, it's still Bach.
It's still Bach.
And it's remarkably flexible in terms of how you articulate it, how fast or slow you play it. I have a feeling that before Turek, Well, of course, there's the big orchestra sound of the 19th going into the 20th century. But I think there may have also been something about the vocal nature of Bach.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful melodies. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
They just spin them out one after the next, and they're so wonderful. But I think that for a period of time, we weren't connected to the essential part of the culture, which was so much music based on dance.
Oh,
That was a really guiding force in a lot of
absolutely.
music, the structures anyway.
Yeah.
Because nobody was dancing that stuff or writing that music anymore.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you played historic recitals or, kind of a reminiscence or something like that. But, and this is what Turek had, because I've got a book, that book on interpreting Bach.
Yep.
It's like a sheet music of, but it's just a book with her notes about how to perform Bach and what to do. And it was really, you don't know that?
I don't know.
I think I might have it there now, pal. We'll look at it later.
Sure.
But it's really interesting because it's like a general critique and addition, but just take these ideas and use them every time you approach Bach's music. And there are other people over time. Gustav Leonhardt had a huge impact on things, and then Helmut Drilling and Nicholas Harnoncourt.
Yeah.
Right?
Then Scott Ross.
And Scott Ross is the American who lived in France who played Bach and Scarlatti and Southern Harpsichord. A visionary,
Blow your
I
mind.
think, really amazing insight into the music. Yeah.
Well, shall we finish off this?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. The last
What's her
pianist.
name? Elsie Hall.
Elsie Hall.
Obviously, she features big in this one.
Yeah. Well, she's not the only one on this CD number 2. There's the second half, Catherine Goodson. I don't know this one. Born in 1872, died in 1958. Let's see, the first track for her, she makes some commentary, then proceeds to play the Blumenstück in D flat, Schumann, and then she makes some more commentary, 21. And then track 22, she plays an impromptu A flat, Schubert. And then some more commentary in track 23, and plays the Scherzo from Sonata Number 3 by Brahms.
Ooh.
Yeah, it says extract, so it could be just one movement there. Boy, she makes a lot of commentary here. 25, some more commentary, and then proceeds to play the Capriccio in D minor, Opus 76 by Brahms.
Mm-hmm.
Some more commentary at 27, and then proceeds to play the first movement from Sonata in A, Crucial 331 by Mozart. That's it. And then the last track, number 29, she speaks of her friendship with Melba. Who's Melba?
Nellie Melba.
Nellie.
Nellie. She was a great Australian soprano from the later 19th century. I mean, big time. I mean, she filled circus auditoriums with her performances and stuff. She is super famous. Melba Toast. You know Melba Toast? The really dry as a fart kind of slices of bread that's really crackly.
No, I don't.
Like croutons or something.
Yeah.
She was very careful to maintain her figure. And she didn't want to become a big, punchy opera singer. So she was always a nice favorite. But she created Melba Toast as a dietary way of filling herself up and not getting real fat. So her name was Dame. She was damed by the Queen.
Okay.
Nellie Melba.
Wow.
Great soprano.
So anyways.
They were friends, huh?
Yeah, apparently they were friends. She speaks of her friendship with Melba and then proceeds to play a few bars from the Song of India by Rimsky-Korsakov. Don't know what that's about. But that's what concludes this collection.
Wow, that's an interesting collection.
Yeah.
Maybe not for you guys that are, still working your way through Beethoven, Bach, and Liszt and stuff like that, but that's kind of where we are. And like one of the things we said, we're trying to keep our eyes on that lower 2/3 or 3/4 of the iceberg.
Yeah.
To see what all's kind of fallen under the water and what's maybe in danger of being forgotten. Keeping it there. Because, come on. You and I don't mean this at all in any bad way, but come on, really. I mean, we're probably not on that top third or quarter of the bass.
Oh no, not even
We're good at
close.
what we do. He's a really good player. And I've done well myself too with the things I do, and I bring all kinds of discipline to music making and all that. Taught a lot of people. You have to.
Yeah.
But, over time, there's a small percentage that really, and maybe deservedly so, it's supposed to be way up there. And then there's all the rest of us, that are part of the whole process. And we're focused on making sure that, and not speaking really so much egotistically for ourselves, but just we find something, wow, this is really good. This is really interesting.
Oh, it's very interesting.
This needs to be heard, or it needs to be known, by somebody. That just that little moment where you keep people going. I was sad that when I did the editing for this last big one we did, 0010, that's a big mother.
Yeah.
That's me. But I wanted very much to find a picture of my French humanities teacher, Calvin Vance.
Yeah.
He was an important person in my life, And he affected a lot of people. He was a teacher in the high school, different places in Springfield, but when I came around, he was teaching at North High School. And I studied 2 years of French, and then I took his senior class called Humanities. And this is where I mentioned that quote. The very first day of class, he rolls up the map, and it says, "The unexplored life is not worth living." Socrates. Never forgot that. This is the very first thing he hit us with. What do you know about your life? Who do you know who you are? Who do you know where you came from? What do you know about Western culture? What do you know about anything? It's all right there. You just have to start opening things up and looking at it. Explore it. What's it about? And for that whole year, he gave us sections in art appreciation, in literature, in philosophy, in music, in opera, in ballet and dance. Different things throughout the whole year. Just arts and humanities for a year. And not even an introduction to it. It's like, you guys all kind of know what this is. You come from better backgrounds, white Springfield, and most of you have been in the symphony or you play instruments and things. So this is not intro. This is really getting you to know some things. And the sad thing for me was this guy who had such an impact on me. I have a collection of letters that we corresponded in high school with each other. It was really cool. I wrote him, and I get this beautiful writing back on this nice paper from him. This old-fashioned correspondence. And I have all my notes from his classes.
Wow.
I love the man very, very much. He was a formative person in my life. I couldn't find one photograph of him online.
That's too bad.
I looked in the the obituaries in the Springfield paper.
Yeah.
Or the funeral home where he had his service.
And nothing.
No photographs.
Wow. That's amazing.
So it's too easy for people
to just disappear.
Yeah, just disappear. It's cool when you go to the cemetery. I've always loved going to cemeteries, visiting, reading the names, and looking at the dates, seeing when people died. I remember when I was out west, very common out there, you see dead kids.
Yeah.
Especially in Arizona in the 1880s. Down near Bisbee, Arizona, there's an old 19th century cemetery out there. A lot of kids. In the 1880s, they made it to about 10 years old or something like that. Well, it's because there was an outbreak of what killed Tchaikovsky? Cholera. Or scarlet fever, things like that. Even at the St. James Church, the Lutheran Church in Hilliard, they've got a cemetery that goes back to the 19th century out there. Because they're older than the men, of course. They're like 178 years old. There's kids' tombstones out there. You can see. Learn a lot by just looking at the dates and figuring. And I always thought it was kind of sad, like, Rachmaninoff died in 43.
Yeah.
He was in his 70s or around 70 or something.
Yeah.
Which he smoked like a fiend.
Yeah.
But I always thought, when I saw people like that who were famous and were very sensitive and wonderful, creative people, wouldn't it have been nice if he could have made it to December of 1945?
Yeah.
Just to see the war was over. No. Just that he survived the Second World War and would have seen that we beat the son of a bitch, you know.
Yeah.
What would it be like for a person like that to die at 70 in 1943? I think the Nazis had been beaten at Stalingrad by that point, but it was still long from over. I just think about things like that, but then you go and all you got maybe is name and some dates. Maybe there's the whole thing, wife of or father of this or that, or maybe there's a little bit. But who are these people? You know.
Yeah.
When I grew up, my grandparents, we used to call Memorial Day. They called that Decoration Day.
Decoration Day.
Decoration Day. Because they had a slew of plastic flowers and vases and stuff. They put them all in the trunk of the car, and we go out on Sunday after church and go up, especially to a couple cemeteries. One up above Springfield in the hills up there where a lot of old relatives and family are.
Huh.
There was some in Ferncliff, which is a really famous cemetery in Springfield. And we spend 2, 3, 4 hours going and
decorating.
Grandpa would take the clippers and clip the grass around the tombstones, and then otherwise put some flowers out there. Anybody that was a relative that was buried in that one cemetery up in the countryside, they were remembered. We did that every year. You know, at some point you have to go back and collect your flowers and things. You know, and then they keep them for the next year and do it. But Grandma and Grandpa didn't call it Memorial Day; they called it Decoration Day because you went to decorate the graves.
Wow.
Both the veterans, but also just family in general. And when I lived in Japan, I thought it was interesting that some of the Buddhists, like I kind of adopted Shingon Buddhism as a philosophy, spiritual path in life. A lot of Buddhists do this, but especially in Shingon Buddhism, you go all the way up until 33 years after the person has died, and you're still going to their tombstone and marking it and remembering them. Because that's one whole generation. Because that means that the grandchild now knows who that person was, and that they can continue if they want. Now it can carry on that tradition. But anyway, I got talking about this, but I suppose because of the influence from my grandparents and different things, I just have a fascination for what was there. Because what tore the shit out of the Titanic was not the stuff they saw.
Yeah.
It was what was down in the water.
Yeah.
That's what just ripped the unsinkable ship. Your toilet paper. To me, your toilet paper.
Yeah.
So human civilization is cumulatively the whole iceberg, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, what we do know about ancient cultures and stuff, you know, is what's still there. Sometimes the really big architectural things, thank gods, and the stone stuff is still there.
Yeah, sure is.
But it's usually memorializing the kings and the queens and stuff. But civilization is built on the backs of the working people. I'm not a communist or anything like that, but come on. I mean, I remember seeing a TV show, The Men Who Built America.
Oh,
it was on the History Channel or something a while back,
I remember that.
Several years ago. Well, it was about the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, this and that. I forget the names of these Carnegies, these different guys. And I said, those sons of bitches that built America. You know, the guys on the railroad, or the guys in the factories, the guys in the mines.
Yeah. They
build it. These guys paid for it. Okay, that's an important part. Yeah. But come on, let's pick our words carefully here.
Yeah.
You know, I come from a family of proud working class people, you know. Yeah. let's give everybody their due. And let's give Elmer his due for what he's doing, what he's achieved. When he passes on, to remember the contributions that he made in his own way. You know?
Hopefully there'll be more.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm jabbering.
No, that's all right. That's all right. That's what we're here for. Okay. Have you ever played any movie scores?
Well, I played songs and stuff for movies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I've got like one book in particular is post Second World War.
Yeah.
It's like it's all a book of music from Italian films.
Yeah.
So we're trying to build up the country. You know,
Right.
keep them away from the communists.
Yeah.
And it's great stuff. There's a wonderful composer.
Yeah.
Alessandro is a great fan of that music.
Really?
Oh, he loves it.
Oh, wow. I did
It's
not
one of
know
the
that.
great chestnuts.
Have you played any of it for him?
Yeah, sometimes I took the book over and showed it to him. It's got photographs with the films.
Wow.
Loved it, yeah.
Well, we have to share some.
So what you have?
So, but anyways, I don't quite go back by that big playing over at Bon Mar. It's a little different. So every once in a while, I'll play things from more like modern films for the last 20 years, I guess.
Well, good for you.
So, and some of the customers
Like
like it.
Disney stuff and things
Disney
like that.
stuff, and
You got to buy that stuff, or you know the
no,
music.
I just pretty much.
Ah, look at this guy.
So
That's
just,
what
I mean,
love about it.
there's always YouTube, okay?
Yeah.
There's always recordings, and I just steal from recordings.
This guy's a walking jukebox.
So I'm not. I mean, I know a lot of music, but not that much. But I want to introduce to you to possibly one of the oldest movie scores that was ever released for solo piano. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
This music was composed for a movie version of Thornton Wilder's Our Town. Yes, and this is Aaron Copland.
3 piano excerpts from the film score.
Yeah.
By Eric.
By
Did he do the arrangement?
Yes.
The arrangement.
Yes, it is the arrangement.
Oh, I know this music.
Oh, you
too.
did?
I've
Yeah.
heard, da 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 dum, dee da 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 dum. Sorry, dee da 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 dum, dee da 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 dee da 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 dum.
Yeah.
I love Our Town. You guys know that play?
Yeah.
A lot of high schools do
Thornton
that.
Wilder.
It's about
It's by the
community,
time- yeah.
family, the things that are truly important,
Yeah.
and holding a community together.
Yeah.
It's a lovely story, beautiful. It tears your heart out kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's sweetly naive. I mean,
Yes, it is. It's
all of us Americans, I hope that we should still cling to those aspects of
Yeah.
what it meant to be in America, because after 9/11,
Yeah.
and I think it's unfortunate if we look only at 9/11, because some people like to say, oh, that's when America truly lost its virginity or lost its naivete,
Oh.
that it realized it was part of a dangerous world and things like that. Well, I think we've known that for a long time. Come on. We got pulled into the morass in World War II with Hitler and stuff. We know what's out there in the
Yeah.
world. But and we've done our share of crap to the Native Americans here and
Yeah.
to black people, and God knows America has its faults. But what America has going for it are some truly noble ideas and words and gestures and actions taken at different times in our history. We have every right to be proud of,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter who you are. You're a human being.
Yeah.
You have the right to be acknowledged, and as much as possible to choose to live your life how you want to.
Yeah.
It was what Calvin used to say, which I love, the expression, your freedom stops at the end of my nose.
Calvin
Vance.
Vance. Oh.
Your freedom stops at the end of my nose. It gets this close, we're talking,
Yeah.
But he meant, all the kinds of choices you make. He was homosexual.
Yeah.
And in a period of time where that could have been dangerous as a school teacher. But he was not the pederast or something like that. He was homosexual with a lover that he was with for over 30 years. the two of them together for so long. And that's kind of what he meant, you know. But I love historical America going back into the 19th and these wonderful musicals, you know, sweet, sappy musicals and all this.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what you see in life, how you live your life, and what you do with your life is based upon your own belief systems.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate that there is enough liberty and openness in our society that whatever you choose to believe, that can pretty much be reality for you.
Yeah.
In some places, it comes from top down, and you're not allowed to have that kind of freedom to imagine and be. So your private life has to be much more private and secret. But here, no. In a place like America, and a number of places around the world, you could think, yep, this is the way the world is, but you've really created that yourself. And I'm sorry I got off on this, but when I saw what happened 9/11, what people started to say and how people started to behave, there is a difference. There's a difference in the freshness. Well, at least for a period of time, there was a darker, one might say cynical, quality to the themes in the movies and the stories that were being made post 9/11 compared to before that. Can you imagine, any of those Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn kind of movies? Or Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn, yeah, sure.
That kind of lovely things, or Three Coins in the Fountain. And
Roman Holiday.
What was the Tom Hanks movies? The one where it's in Seattle. It's about you got man, but they communicate to each other's love stories and things. There was a sweetness and a naivete. And I don't think that one wants to blind oneself from all the potential realities. But it doesn't mean that one can't embrace certain ideas and attitudes. I mean, I think the Christian church where I work, the Lutherans, they're very Christic-centered people, and it's a tremendously important part of their life on a regular basis. And I feel that when I'm with them. I mean, I come from a Quaker and a Buddhist background, but I say the prayers and I pray, and I accept that energy in my way, and I honor them profoundly for what they do. Really, these people are not just talking Christ stuff, they're really trying to live it.
Right.
And I know some remarkable people in that church. You could just tell the way they are. It's a discipline, but a loving one that they follow or lead their life that way. They've chosen to do that in light of everything else going on. I mean, this one fellow in particular is very disturbed with the Russian-Ukrainian situation.
Oh, yeah.
And he's in favor of the Ukrainians because he thinks that what Russia's doing is wrong. But he doesn't think that Russia is evil and that Russians are evil.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love this music.
It's wonderful music.
You want to show it to him?
Yes, I want to.
That's lovely. Where you got that? Where did you get that?
All right, I picked up this a long, long time ago. It was on the actual disc clearance sale over at Stanton's. I don't know this. I mean, I don't even know this. Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I have. As a matter of fact, matter of fact, I have. This was actually the first piece I played at a recital that Kathy saw me play.
Oh,
so this
is what touched your heart.
Yeah, you
can't go wrong with Copeland.
Yeah, so
I mean, one of the pieces that still makes me cry.
Yeah.
Every time I hear it is Appalachian Spring.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And when you see it performed, for example, historically with Martha Graham's original choreography.
Yeah.
Talk about hope, beauty,
Yeah.
having dreams and ideas and plans. Some Native Americans will say, yeah, it's expensive to us. But sorry, but it's true, and it happens that way.
I'm over here
But,
sticking my chest out from the way he's talking. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, he brings down.
well, it's always that way.
Oh,
But Copeland, well, we were talking in one
Yeah.
of these shows I edited,
Yeah.
why isn't Roy Harris and Lucas Voss and certain kind of people
yeah,
up there the same way?
yeah,
How do you explain that? There's something in that man's music.
yeah. There is absolutely.
Copeland that just it plucks a string
Oh, absolutely.
in us. I
it
mean,
does.
he found a core. I like with Rodeo or El
Billy the
Salam,
Kid.
El Salam Mexico or
Yeah.
Billy the Kid,
Yeah.
or the Appalachian Spring.
Right.
Some of the lovely melodies in the symphonies,
But
There is something
this
in
early
there which-
Copeland.
which is either it's weird because although I think he wrote the original melodies,
Yeah.
we think of it as traditional
Traditional
American
music.
song.
I know. Yeah, isn't it strange?
It's like
Like simple
what's
gifts.
that guy? I write this song.
Oh, Barry Manilow.
Yeah, what's the song called?
I write the songs,
Yeah,
but Barry Manilow didn't write it.
no, it was the guy before him who actually did write it.
Bruce
He-
Johnston.
He became famous for singing it, but
Yeah.
Copeland's kind of like the guy who wrote our folk music.
Yeah, basically. Or yeah, something like that.
got it. And his teacher was a famous French lady.
Oh, Nadia Boulanger. Yeah, absolutely.
She said, well, like with a number of people,
Yeah.
what does your music sound like where you're from? Like, she's very driving people towards their own origins and their
Yeah.
folk music. Same thing with Astor Piazzolla.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's interesting.
and
Yeah.
who's the other one from Brazil that really set up the plays music? Polo Bebe and stuff.
Oh, Vila Lobos.
Villa Lobos.
Yeah.
They all studied with Boulanger.
Yeah.
And they all came out with very, very idiomatic,
Yeah.
idiosyncratic
Yeah.
music based upon their own cultures.
Yeah.
Copeland, what's his name again? Polo Bebe. Villa
Oh, Vila
Lobos.
Lobos. Yeah.
And Piazzolla.
It's over. Yeah.
Fascinating.
I'll tell you funny. Have you ever looked at his Passacaglia?
Copeland?
Copeland's?
I think I'm aware of it.
It's actually on the OMEA list. It's
Really?
actually on there. Yeah, and I can't imagine somebody trying to play that thing. It looks very advanced. And even the sonata, his sonata, the first,
I love this.
third movement are
Yeah.
on the list. Yeah, it beats the heck out of me. How did they do that?
I love there's a performance of Copeland available on YouTube where you get recordings of it, playing his piano concerto.
Yeah, I know.
It's very jazzy,
Oh, it's very jazzy, very different.
but very, not Gershwin jazzy.
No, not Gershwin jazz.
It's like a true marriage of, well, it's not 12-tone music. He
No,
made
it's
it
not.
past that.
Yeah,
He was writing 12-tone stuff, and it was Boulanger,
yeah,
which kind of said, why don't you leave that up to the Viennese Second School?
yeah.
They kind of mastered that. I mean, how much further can you take this than Weber?
Yeah, exactly.
Brought it down to crystalline structure.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Passacaglia was actually one of
I
his
think I own
compositions.
it.
You probably do, but it was the first composition he brought to Nadia.
Really?
Yeah, it was that, and somehow if you look at it, it looks very European.
Huh.
I mean, just the test, the structures
That's the cool
and the
thing.
composition. It's very European.
That's a
looking.
really
It does
cool
not look
point.
like Copeland.
That's a really cool point because that's what Nadia helped foreign students break about themselves, which was this kind of hegemony of the European way of
Yeah,
writing and the traditions and so forth. She was really curious about seeing what they had
yeah,
that they could bring from their own cultures
exactly.
that could be just as interesting and significant as look at I'm not sure that how many people she influenced, but I just thought of the name Carlos Chavez in
Yeah,
Mexico.
Carlos Chavez.
You know, for example, there's some amazing South American composers who came up with very original voices for their music. And South America, in some ways, longer and more than North America, because I think we in North America moved forward financially and economically more quickly. South America sent a lot of its great artists, great talent. Martha Argerich, Claudio Rao, Guillermo Narvaez, for example. What about that?
Pires.
Pires, and yes, and Martinez
Nelson
as
Freire.
well. Nelson Freire.
Pires down there.
I don't know. I mean, they had some good teachers down there, but some of them they went to Europe,
Yeah.
especially into France. But Nadia Boulanger was so important in release. You know, I think of a great story. Somebody supposedly asked Michelangelo at one point.
Benedetti?
No, Michelangelo.
Oh,
great
Michelangelo.
sculptor.
All right.
How did you come up with David, the great statue of David? Because I don't know if you've ever seen it. I've never seen it personally. I've seen pictures and stuff. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what 15,
Something
20
like
feet
that,
tall,
yeah.
and it's 3 or 4 times the size of a normal human being, but perfectly anatomically correct.
Uh-huh.
They asked him, "How did you come up with David?" Michelangelo just looked at it and said, "I just freed him from the stone." Understand?
Yeah.
He
was
had
already
the vision.
there.
He said David was waiting inside the marble,
Yeah.
just waiting to be released.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ways that Michelangelo described his sculpting. He didn't put something on the stone. He just simply managed to take away all the detritus that was blocking it from being.
See, yeah.
And Boulanger had a talent for
Oh, yeah. Doing that with people.
doing that with people and composers, and she's one that we don't want to let be forgotten. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
My teacher Robert Wood studied with her at Fontainebleau.
Yeah.
She herself was interested in medieval and Renaissance music and led choruses,
Wow.
and it was part of that whole historic digging stuff up.
Yeah.
Brahms was was on the founding board, critical board of people that started the first Bach Gesellschaft
Uh-huh.
of the
Cataloging?
cataloging and publishing Bach's music.
Yeah.
He was on the original board of that,
Wow.
and he himself before that was already interested in old music. Portion of what he left behind from his library, I'd said this in the show that never made it up online.
Yeah.
He, in his library that he had in his apartment, had some massive bookshelves and things, but in there were lots of pieces that had belonged to Baron von Swieten,
Uh-huh.
who was a contemporary of Franz Joseph Haydn, who was, of course, a nobleman.
Yeah.
But when Haydn used to go out in the summertime for a summer break from Vienna, he would go over to von Swieten's library and look and study things there.
Yeah.
Lots of that music, those manuscripts and all those things, amazing pieces that otherwise no composer at Haydn's time would have had access to, because these were sometimes singular manuscripts and things, or books. Those somehow a portion of those ended up in Brahms's library because of his fascination for old music.
Yeah.
And then he gave his library to the Friends of Music in Vienna. And they stored the stuff down in a bunker during the Second World War, so it's all still preserved.
Goodness.
But there was all this interest in early music, and also because the archaeology thing of going back into previous human cultures and societies and trying to discover what it was all about, how they lived their daily lives and what was important to them. And I went and got off on a tangent, which hopefully I can keep talking long enough for him to get back. He had to take a potty break. But Boulanger, as I've read about her, she was really interesting. And then her sister Lily was a composer. She didn't live as long, but it's amazing how many people did study with Nadia, and how many great composers found their voices because of her influence. But I'm just thinking about her, and then I was thinking of the French in general. A number of people went to study with Alfred Cortot. French had in the earlier 20th century to the mid 20th century especially, I think they had a profound influence on a lot of international artists and creative artists. It's interesting, the French culture really, there was supposedly Kalkbrenner could have been partially responsible for the development of what became known as the French school, which Chopin was not part of that.
Yeah.
He was trained differently and stuff, but where that school headed through the 19th century and then into the 20th century, then due to the terrible losses in the First World War and the trench warfare, they couldn't afford to just make it French boys, French men anymore. They had to widen it because otherwise it wouldn't survive. So there's a lot of ladies that studied at that time, and some of them even eventually joined the faculty. They started to introduce foreign faculty members to the Paris Conservatoire, which in the 19th century didn't happen. You were French, and you were part of French culture, and that's what they taught, and that's what they sustained, and that's what they did. That was probably something that grew out of the pride of the revolution, I suppose. But anyway, I'll shut up after that, because I was just talking about that. Was all jibber jabber inspired by Copeland. I'd like to take a look at that music.
Okay, sure thing.
I don't know if that's an IMS up here now, because Copeland stuff is still protected by copyright.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's hard to
not that
get a hold of this stuff.
So let me. There's a short paragraph of note here.
I'm going to.
Okay, so let me read this to you. Sure thing.
I'll be back.
Your turn. It says here, Thornton Wilder's stage play Our Town is known throughout the United States as a classic of the American theater. In 1940, the screen version was produced by Mr. Saul Lesser in close collaboration with a playwright who prepared the film script. Thornton Wilder's film script. So Aaron Copland was asked to supply music for the picture. Music which has since been widely commented upon. Okay? Now, the three excerpts from the film score arranged for piano solo by the composer were completed in 1944. The publishers believed this to be one of the infrequent instances in which original background music for a Hollywood film has been made generally available. So we have here three pieces from Our Town. The first movement is called Story of Our Town. The second movement is called Conversation at the Soda Fountain. And the third movement is called The Resting Place on the Hill. Now, my first introduction to this music was watching the actual movie. It's an old black and white movie. I don't recall the name of one of the main actors. I know one of the male role is now, became a very big name in Hollywood film in the later part of the 20th century. So he's quite well known. I'll have to go back to my notes, but I wanted to share this with you. Now, there was rumor, I remember reading about this. The first recorded piano version I've heard of this was done by pianist Leo Smit.
I know Leo Smit.
Leo Smit had recorded the complete piano works of Aaron Copland on,
your drinks.
well, not quite, 2 discs.
Okay. You want to beat it up there?
Oh no, I'm cool.
Okay,
Thanks.
go ahead.
So, but anyways, I actually have that collection, the complete works, and it's done very, very well. He himself is
He's a great pianist.
oh yeah, he's done some great work for Aaron Copland as well. He actually has a transcription of the Billy the Kid Suite for solo piano as well, which is not very well known. But surprisingly, he didn't record that, so it's too bad that he didn't play that one on the collection. But now, rumor has it that when Thornton Wilder heard the music, I guess an argument ensued, and supposedly, rumor has it that he didn't really like Aaron Copland's music very much.
Well, as we said, Aaron
So-
Copland kind of wrote American folk music in a sense that was not the original thing.
Yeah,
Because his stuff, I mean, earlier Copland is, I mean, he does 12-tone,
oh yeah, he
12-tone
does.
stuff and pretty raucous stuff. And,
Yeah.
nah, his is a serious, bigger thing going on than what people would have thought of as like real folk music or simple stuff. I can imagine like the image that Thornton Wilder had.
Yeah.
At best, he might have been happy with Richard Rodgers or something like that, you know, but Copland, no way. You know, the story is very
Yeah.
Richard Rodgers-y, you imagine, you know, with those wonderful
Yeah, a little
songs and melodies and stuff.
So, but anyways, yeah, Leo Smith has a recording of this. I think even let's see, James Tocco.
Oh, yeah?
James Tocco may have not recorded this. There's also a pianist named Eric Parkinson or Eric Parker.
Don't know that one.
Okay, he's not as well known as the others, but I remember some of the CDs he had. And I didn't quite have the money back then to be able to purchase any of the CDs, but he had quite a number of CDs. He had actually recorded music by one of my favorite Canadian composers named Robert Farnon. Farn, as in Nancy, O-N. And he's sort of a bit of a, as a composer, he's sort of a bit of a Canadian answer to Leroy Anderson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Leroy Anderson wrote the Rudolph song.
Yeah.
Did he write the typing song, too?
The typewriter.
Yeah, the typewriter.
The typewriter and the syncopated clock, which is used to be played on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But so this is one of the earliest piano arrangements of a movie score, but is it the earliest? You know. And so I went.
No, I know it's not.
You know it's not.
Well, because Victor Herbert. Well,
that's not a movie.
But come on, it was 19th century.
Yeah, it's hard.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyways, so I went and did some checking around, and actually Prokofiev did some movie scores.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and I looked at this book, which is now released on Dover. Okay, I don't know if it's still in print, but in it has under the Opus 96, he has here the Waltz from War and Peace.
Mm.
Oh, but that's an opera.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this next one here, the Contra Dance, which is the unpublished film score from the movie Lermontov.
Oh.
Okay. So we have an actual piano version of that, which remained unpublished for a while till 1941.
Uh-huh. Prokofiev had a career early on out in the West, especially he was in Paris. I think he came to New York though too, Boston.
Yeah.
He answered the call at some point and went back to the Soviet Union, and he did a lot of work for them.
Yeah, he did.
This is where this stuff would have come from.
Yeah.
He wrote things for films that were about big Russian achievements.
Yeah, he did.
Alexander
well.
Nevsky,
Yeah.
you know this?
Yes.
Magnificent.
Yes. Have you ever seen the movie?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah.
The
So, you know, honestly, and I'm not speaking in favor of this or not, but
Yeah.
historically,
Yeah.
Alexander Nevsky is based around Kiev, which is the home origins for the Russian nation.
Yeah.
This is part of the Russians' reasoning that Ukraine belongs to Russia, because
Yeah.
it's like the original garden plot where the whole thing started, where the Mongols were defeated and the Russians won, and that was 980 or something, and went on from there. It'd be, in my mind, nice if they could figure a way out to make nice
Yeah, no
and
kidding.
live together and let
Yes,
Ukrainians be happy, but
coexist.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you know.
All right, so we also have another piece of music from Lermontov, and you'll get a big kick out of this. It's a Mephisto waltz. Mephisto waltz.
Wow.
So it says here about the Mephisto waltz. The Mephisto waltz is a frantic perpetuum mobile. Unlike its famous namesake by Liszt, Prokofiev's work contains not a hint of sensuality, save for a brief respite in the middle section. This piece also resurfaces in the waltz suite.
And this is all for piano.
This is all for piano, this whole thing.
Can I see it? You want to show it to them?
Oh, okay, let me show it to them first. It's published by Dover. You might, some of you pianists who go frequent the music stores
Is Dover
might
still
be
in
able to find
business?
this. Dover?
Yeah, are they still doing stuff?
Well, from what I know, they probably are, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if not, you should.
They used to be a lot bigger than they appear to be now. And I don't know, like he's right, if everything is still available.
Well, they've gone through some changes. Like, I remember you used to be able to get the Paderewski edition of the Chopin works from Dover.
Yes, I have those.
Yeah, so do I.
They have them kind of mixed together. Like
Yeah, but now it's no
Polonaises and
longer.
nocturnes are all in
Yeah.
one book.
But Paderewski's no longer available in Dover anymore. So you notice that they changed to, I think it was the McCooley or the Peters edition, in as far as the etudes and the preludes go.
Mm.
So it's quite different. But by the way, back to Our Town. This is a beautiful work. Like I said, I was telling Mark that this was actually the first work I played on a recital that my wife, Kathy, attended. So,
That's sweet.
and it's a beautiful work. It's very touching, and I highly recommend the movie to get an idea of what some of the themes represent. It's a very powerful movie. I'm sure you'll be touched by it. Now, here's a work that you talked about in the last episode, I think, which I think still needs to be put up. But we talked about this. It's a work for two pianos by Rachmaninoff,
Oh.
and it is the Russian Rhapsody.
Oh, I don't know this.
This is an early work. It was done during his student days
Oh.
at the Moscow Conservatory. And he and Joseph Levine actually premiered this work together. And there's a whole story about it by Alexander Goldenweiser at the opening page. But yeah, it's very vintage, youthful Rachmaninoff. It's got cadenzas and lots of big chords and octaves, and it's very showy. Now, story has it that Rachmaninoff was once told by a composition teacher that a theme that people have tried to write a theme and variations based on this theme, and he says, "I'm convinced it cannot be done." Well, so Rachmaninoff took the challenge, and this is the fruit of that work. Now, as far as finding performances of this, I'm sure you could probably find some performances of it now, today, on YouTube. The first performance I've known about this was actually done by Ashkenazi and Andrei Previn. Later on, about I don't remember when the recording came out, but eventually, going on one of my excavations, I actually found a recording of John Ogden and Brenda Lucas.
Oh, wow.
A recording of this. And
Wow, I was just reading about them yesterday.
so, you were.
Yeah.
Wow. But anyways, yeah, it's a brilliant work. This one is published or edited by Maurice Hinson.
Maurice Henson, he's done a lot of great work for pedagogic purposes, but I've got some different books of his. He did collections of repertoire, solo repertoire, chamber repertoire, concerti, different things like that. And he does some of
Transcription.
these, writes the notes and edits pieces that Alfred puts out,
Yep, he
special
does.
kinds of things.
Some wonderful stuff. Okay, now, all right, we're getting close here, but all right, the last thing I wanted to bring to you is how far back do you think classical music was actually, European classical music was actually brought to this country? It would have to be during perhaps the 13 original colonies.
Well, it depends on what you call original music, but I mean, the Puritans wouldn't have brought anything with them because they didn't believe in it. But other people came to the States, Germans especially.
Yep.
I would say 1730, maybe.
You're very close. Okay. I brought in music by Alexander Reinigal. Don't know if you know this guy.
Sure.
Alexander Reinigal.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much.
German guy, based in Philadelphia. Yeah.
Well, actually, he's from Scotland.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he's Scottish.
Oh, okay.
And he came to America. He had a brother who stayed behind, who was also a musician. But he came to America, and he tried to find work as a musician. And he eventually did find work. He wound up becoming the piano teacher to George Washington's adopted
Son.
Not son, niece.
Niece?
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, George
Well, see,
Washington.
Martha didn't have kids.
Yeah, so he was the piano teacher of George Washington's adopted niece, and so I forgot that stupid book. Anyways,
I know this.
These are the Philadelphia sonatas that he could compose and performed himself. And supposedly, when he was, finally finding a name for himself, and people were, paying him to do work as a musician and a teacher, he eventually used that money to start the colony's first concert series. So he found a theater and a venue for small chamber groups and singers and pianists and violinists and whoever he could find to come and perform. He's possibly probably one of the first concert series managers here in the States. Now here, like I said, are the Philadelphia sonatas that he had composed. And anyways, when I first found this book, it was the binding was all messed up.
Was he
So so I had that done. It's spiral bound. So I mean, we had an original binding, but it was
Good show.
the binding was not.
Music. It's Scarlatti-esque.
Yes.
Soler-esque.
Yes, that's right.
Early Haydn-esque.
Yep.
Never really approaches Mozart.
No, not really.
Yeah, look at this. This is a kind of an old-fashioned kind of
Yeah.
thing. You see this a lot more in Haydn and his predecessors. Let's show him some of that. I know this.
Publisher?
I know these people connected with this.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh.
AR Editions is from Madison, Wisconsin, on West Gorham Street. I know exactly where that is. It started out in connection with Brooklyn College in New York. But H. Wiley Hitchcock also knows the director of the Institute for Studies in American Music is general editor of this thing.
Wow.
There are people that I knew in Madison. Ellsworth knew these people.
He did? Wow.
But then there was a new guy that came from study with Bilson. I can't think of his name. It was with Tim Farley and people. He'd gotten his doctorate with Bilson at Cornell and was connected with these people. But I remember AR editions because actually, I think that there was a guy associated with him who also did recordings. And he did some recordings at the Franklin Wright Church for Ellsworth. And one or two of my recordings that I have where I played the Poulenc Cello Sonata, for example, the Summer Festival with Warren Downs, who was young but very fabulous concertmaster with George Sell, Cleveland Orchestra. And we did that performance here. That's wonderful working with him. That was in Madison. But I know that publisher.
Okay.
Very interesting people connected with that. You can open that up and show them a few pages of that music so they can see what writing looks like.
So interestingly enough, I had a book of some of his more much easier pieces for the students.
Yeah.
And probably the kind of music that he used for his own students.
Who was I thinking of the German guy? Is it Reinecke? Or Reinecke?
Could be Reinecke, Karl Reinecke.
Karl Reinecke, yeah.
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 Yeah. The names could be confused.
Yeah, this sounds right.
So, but anyways, I also found this work, which is actually a theme in variations. The theme is taken from Haydn work. So it says, but they never tell you what the work was. So this is published by European American Music Corporation and is edited by Morris Henson and
there's his picture back there.
and McClenny Krause. Yeah, there's a picture of it.
He was a busy boy.
Yeah, he was a very busy boy. Very productive. You know, and thank goodness that he did those books. Piano repertoire, chamber music. For
Those
piano.
are all good books.
Excellent.
The big fat one is the one on the solo music, which he also, what's nice about it, he breaks pieces according to a scale of easy to
Moderately
professional
difficult,
stuff.
Dance,
So
and
you want to look for things you don't necessarily know about as possibilities for your students or yourself.
here, let me show this. This theme and variations. Like I said, the theme is taken from a Haydn work. Don't know which work it is, so, but it's relatively simple, sort of. Variations. So there's a few 30-second notes, but not as bad as it looks, really. Now, as far as finding recordings of these, it's strange, though. I've tried playing through these here, the sonatas, and some of the harmony and melodic material, I don't know. I was thinking, since you've been telling me about tunings, tempered tuning, I was wondering if that had something to do with some of the harmonic and melodic ambiguities in some of these works.
Possible.
Yeah, it is possible because it's
This guy lives. Reinecke was. Let's see. Mozart was 1756, wasn't he?
yeah.
35 years old to 1791.
Yeah.
So he was born the same year as Mozart and died the same year as Haydn. He went from 1756 to 1809. Haydn, I think, was from 1733 or something.
Yeah, to 1809. Here, what do you think of this? Look at the way he ends this cadence here. Tell me what you think of this. It goes from dominant to tonic in A major, but look what he does to the tonic chord. He has that raised fourth, which kind of bugged. I mean, to me, it sort of clashes a little bit. And I wasn't quite sure what he was trying to get at when he did it. And he does it again later in the work when he finally lands in D major. Okay, by the way, to try to find a recording of this, it's near impossible. Okay, however, on YouTube, You can get a performance of it by one, well, believe it or not, the pianist is actually a Filipino. Filipino lady. Her name is Cecile Licad. I don't know if you remember her.
Mm-hmm.
She made her debut recording with Claudio Botto and the Philadelphia Symphony, performing the Rachmaninoff Second Concerto and Paganini Rhapsody. I believe it came out on CBS Masterworks label. Later on, she would release some Chopin recordings with the Musical Heritage Society. I also know of her recording of some all Gottschalk recordings, and I'm not sure if she recorded all of these. I only know one recording of the, I don't know what number is it. Is it number 1 or is it number 2? I think it's the first one. Yep, Sonata number 1, D major. So she did record that. That much I know. But otherwise, that's what I brought for you folks today. Alexander Reinagel, and maybe more about him later. Now, with the time we have left,
I tell you my choices. I'd like to do the 5 people.
You want to do the 5 people?
And you could probably do the sources for your music. Let's save the party for the next one, because we might be able to do that one contemporaneously with release.
Okay, so we want to do the 5 people?
Yeah.
All right.
Because I thought about that.
Okay. All right. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Go first. Tell me.
All right. The assignment. We're going to forego the 10 people at the party. There are 10 composers at the party for another episode, but we will do the one with the 5 musicians you want to meet in heaven. Okay. Here was my pick. The first one was JS Bach. With JS Bach, I wanted to bring to him his his score to a musical offering and ask him, how did you do that? I mean, if some of you don't know, are not familiar with the score, there's a music in it where he'll write it in treble clef, but then you turn it upside down, it's an alto clef or sometimes even bass clef, and somehow they're supposed to come together as sort of like a duet or 2-part invention type of thing. And he has numerous works like that in this collection. And so, and I can't recall it ever having been done ever after that.
I don't know about after that, but actually that tradition comes out of
it's like a nasty version of
ancient,
Sudoku or something.
Well, an ancient tradition in secret societies of doing music which has puzzles or things in it that also are symbolic about other things. But it's not, I don't, in my mind, it's not unique to Bach, because there were some things that were created in the Renaissance that did this. But basically, he could write something, say in the G clef, and you turn it over. And then, or turn it over and turn it around, do it backwards.
Yeah.
And you could play these things together. Of course, you'd have to rewrite the clef that it was in, so that it would be harmonically suitable. But it's, I mean, what he's doing with musical offering is showing a level of mastery which few people achieve. You know, I can do this. You know, but Da Vinci, in terms of other things, was famous for creating certain things like that. For example, Da Vinci wrote, how do you put it? He wrote backwards and upside down. So that the only way you could read his writing and understand what he was doing, his notes to himself. He learned how to write upside down and backwards, right to left. So that you have to put it, in front of a mirror and then turn it over in order to read it, so you can understand what he was saying. But he also, there were people like him who did things like that. But still, it'd be interesting to see what
I
Bach
want
has
to know what
say
he,
about it.
how,
Because the musical offering
Yeah.
can always be different because people come up with different
The-
solutions
yeah.
to it. Yeah. That's the one where he has something at the third, something at the fourth,
The words,
something at
yeah.
the fifth, and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you imagine
Hey.
that? The cellist tried to do that with the student orchestra
yeah.
at Eastern Mediterranean University.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Nicholas, but that one really crashed and burned.
Oh, Now, have you ever tried the Ricercares? He's got one at the beginning that's in 3 voices.
Oh, I have played one of them, yeah.
One's in 3 voices,
Yeah.
but the last one is in 5
Yes.
or 6.
Yeah.
There's something like that,
Yeah.
5 or 6 voices. So there's 2 of them.
But see, the fact that he calls it a Ricercare, because a Ricercare goes back to the Renaissance period,
Uh-huh.
and it was predecessor to the fugue, right?
Okay, yeah.
So this was already music that had been written 200 to 300 years before Bach, but he himself was exploring the old
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Renaissance was a very interesting period artistically and mathematically, and in terms of the rise of secret societies and communication. Things were going on. A lot of stuff happened in the Renaissance.
Well, I still want to know how he did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next musician I have up here, well, is Joseph Hoffman.
Ooh.
Joseph Hoffman. I spent a lot of time back in college listening to his recordings, and the first thing in my mind that came up back then is still today. How do you do that? I mean, you know what I mean. There's nothing like it. The tone, the ease with which he does it. I mean, it's almost Horowitzian. We use that term, but he did it. But there's something more natural about it.
Yeah.
You know, it has that. Everything he does has sort of like a classical poise to it.
Yeah.
Even when he plays Chopin.
I think it's what he sees in his mind, just different from other people. I think, Hoffman was an extraordinary wunderkind, let's say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Child genius.
Wonder kid.
Yeah. And that even when he came brought to the United States was performing, I don't know if it was true in England as well, but in the United States, they contacted the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children.
Yeah.
Because he was performing so many concerts all the time. He didn't care. He was fine doing it, but people really thought this is brutal on a child to be making it that much.
Well, he
had a genius going on there. And then what's interesting, what helped, I'm sure, in a kind of nice way, is Steinway built special pianos for him.
Yeah.
3/4 size keyboards.
Yeah.
He had smallish hands. And so he was still able to play Rachmaninoff, these wild things.
Yeah.
But because the compass of the piano was 1/4 less than a modern instrument. But otherwise it was a normal piano inside, but it was just the keyboard, which made it easier for him to play.
Oh, and a few things about some of you Hoffmanites may not know, or maybe you already know, but he was the inventor of the windshield wiper.
Yep.
Didn't know that.
I'm watching the metronome.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said. But apparently he was quite the inventor. He has quite a few patents from what I read. Okay, anyways. So after him, I decided to put down, well, surprisingly, Shostakovich.
Really?
I wanted to know what Shostakovich. I wanted to know, well, I wanted to know once again, how does he do it? I mean, the fact that he was challenged by a friend of his to orchestrate T for 2, and he did it within like a half an hour. That, I think, is amazing. I mean, have you heard the work? Or?
I haven't heard his version.
Okay, well, it's one of the movements from the Jazz Suites, and so in it he does this arrangement. He did this arrangement of T for 2, and like I said, he did it like 30 minutes. It was a challenge given to him by Now, I've heard two different stories. Okay, the first story I heard was the challenge was given to him by a roommate of his, and so he locked his feet, set himself on a desk, grabbed some paper, and just started scribbling. The second story I heard was he was at a dinner party here in America, where he met the composer he was sitting at the same table as the composer, Vincent Youmans, who heard about his genius and challenged him right then and there to orchestrate, T for Two. And so he grabbed napkins left and right and started writing out on napkins, and that's what he came up with in 30 minutes. Now, the next person I wanted to see is Paul Hindemith. Paul Hindemith. Once again, I wanted to ask him how did he get it to work? Here's a man that's composed music for every possible instrument. Some of them duos, some of them trios, and I just want to know what was his understanding of composition and how did he get it to work? Because in some circles, we've been taught if you orchestrate anything, never put the bassoon and oboe in unison. But he did it. But it's been done before. Okay, Schubert did it in the Unfinished Symphony, and he got it to work. So, all right, the last person on my list, number 5. And of course, I had to do this because I thought he was the only guy I could party with if I go to heaven. Franz Liszt.
Right.
He's the guy that has to party. I mean, he was Catholic, and he had his share of being in the limelight, drinking wine, smoking cigars, and, stories about women. So, that is my pick. The 5 people I want to meet when I get to heaven.
I do, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
I wasn't thinking so much in terms of composers, because I feel like in their compositions, well, with the thin guys, for looking at composers, so I think, but
Well, I picked Hoffman.
I would, but he's a composer too.
Well, yeah,
But-
it is.
I was thinking just, wanting to hear guys perform who didn't make it into the recording period. Because we have a pretty good estimation of what people were doing. And now things like Marston and some things like that, going even farther back now, music archaeology the science is even better. There's more that we know. And then modern day people recreating 19th century works and practices. That's pretty cool. But I was thinking, for the 19th century, the very first one, I would want to meet and hear Niccolo Paganini play and see what the big fuss was.
Oh, that would be a good one, Niccolo Paganini.
Really want to hear Paganini play because the guy was like Michael Jackson of the early 19th century. Very odd guy. How much of it was real? How much of it was just part
A
of
charlatan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was apparently a very strange guy. He was very pale, very tall, very thin.
Yeah.
People thought that he'd made a deal with
Back
the
with
devil.
the devil.
Play.
Yeah.
Of course, there have been some great violinists from the Italian school for going back, Corelli and before that. Tartini and people like that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear Paganini, and then frankly, I want to hear Liszt perform and play.
Yeah.
Just listen to him do his thing. And from my perspective, see how does it compare to what people are doing nowadays?
Yeah.
How did he play his music, and what was the style, and how does it sound in comparison to what people still play nowadays?
Yeah.
And then the other 19th century one would be Chopin. So I want to hear him play.
Chopin.
I want to see how he played his music, what it was like. He loved to play el piano, which is very different. from the Erards that Liszt more or less preferred.
Yeah.
And we know based on those instruments that it's a wetter instrument.
Yeah.
In terms of the dampers and the pedaling. But it's straight strung and there was a certain clarity. Not harpsichordish, but just more cut through.
Yeah.
So you could use the pedal in a way to create atmosphere that wouldn't necessarily be too much or mix it together. It'd be very interesting to hear what Chopin did.
Yeah.
Also, how he played his music.
Yeah.
How much does it sound like Friedman?
What the Chopin rubato was, because there's always talking about the Chopin rubato.
So those three guys from the 19th century. Because later on, either with paper rolls, Velta Mignon, you can even hear aspects of Busoni,
Or Brahms.
right? Even some things of Brahms, Gustav Mahler on the Velta Mignon.
Saint-Saëns.
And
Grieg.
Saint-Saëns lived forever, so there's plenty of stuff. Even acoustic recordings, I think, of Saint-Saëns very late in his life, right?
Yeah.
All of that's there. But then I go back, and I think the two guys I'd want to hear again, because I'm a pianist, keyboardist. I thought Beethoven. I want to hear him play. I would just like to watch him work.
Yeah. Beethoven?
Yeah.
I know his first word would be, he says, can we revisit that remark that you made during your doctoral interview? I'd like to revisit that remark, young man.
Humor and music. Yeah, you have none, right? And then Beethoven would
5-1, 5-1,
call
5-1, is that it?
He would call me a few choice names because that's the kind of guy he was, right? No, and then honestly, with you too, I just want to hear Bach. I just want to meet Bach.
Oh yeah.
And just I love this story, about Bach.
Yeah.
Mozart dies and shows up to heaven.
Yeah.
And he's asked to become. Now, how's it work? Wait a minute. He's asked to become the director for the Holy Choirs, isn't that
something like that?
Yeah.
I remember this one, sort of.
And who he's talking with is God.
Yeah.
So God says, I'm glad you're here. We've got a great job for you. We're going to make you the director of the heavenly choirs. Because we think you have the right spirit and everything for that. Well, thank you, God, but I rather thought, that Johann Sebastian Bach would be, the one to really do something like this, because come on.
Yeah.
And he said, did you ever think about that? And God goes, I am Johann Sebastian.
I always love that story. Now, where did you hear that one?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
It's been a long time. I remember Ellsworth. I've seen these other places, but he had one of those late 19th century images of steps going up to heaven both sides with the composers, kind of ascending.
Yeah.
And they're in ascendant and descending places,
Yeah.
Bach is at the top.
Top.
Bach is totally at the top, with both hands out to either side. Mozart's on one side, I forget who's on the other. Beethoven's up there. You're there.
Yeah.
But then you see, I think this one even had Rachmaninoff somewhere down there on the steps. Different people. Some of them are they like talking to each other, maybe turning around, looking forward and stuff. But Bach is up there at the top. And of course, there were other great composers before him.
Yeah.
But to be honest, with all the people that we've ever studied, I've ever looked at,
and
I mean, there's some great works.
Yeah.
Josquin and Prey wrote wonderful motets.
But you know what, though?
I like John Bull very
Yeah.
much. Certain things he did, and what's his name? Bird. What was it? William Bird.
Oh, yeah, William
John
Byrd,
William
Byrd,
Byrd.
William Byrd. Yeah, you're right.
Now, some of the motets and things written by, there's another guy who begins with an F. F-A, so in English.
There's Thomas Tallis.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's Tallis as well. But come on, when it comes to it, the grand command of the human voice, of instruments, of the keyboard, and the organ.
Yeah.
And humorous, sometimes sweet,
Yeah.
very dance-like pieces.
Yeah.
Versus, like when Christ dies, and the chorus sings about that in the St. Matthew Passion with the descending minor seconds.
Or the Mass in B minor, the Crucifixus.
Yeah. There's just, I mean, nobody, I mean, he's the apex.
Yeah.
Nobody ever managed to encapsulate the human musical realm. Now, I'm not talking about style or periods, but just the emotion and the breadth of emotion. There's humor in his music.
Oh yeah, there's humor in his music.
And if anything, the intellectual cleverness of some things.
Yeah.
When he's doing something, he's just like, you want to see what I can do? Let me show you what I can do. And you can appreciate it just simply as music, but then a musician would just, you shake your head and go, that's like when
what's his funniest work?
Mark Andre Hamlin or something plays like one of those Godowski transcriptions. Just go, just this is crazy bullshit, but it's amazing.
His funniest work, Bach.
I mean, coffee cantata, right?
Oh, that doesn't have my vote.
For coffee.
What has my vote is the Capriccio on the departure of her brother, the postilion horn at the end.
Right.
Because it even sounds like a horn.
Right.
When he's coming back.
Yeah. That is cute. And just everything. Yeah. I mean, when you think of the compass of this stuff.
Yeah.
There's good music written for beginners or not near beginners. And then there's stuff that is so complex. God love you for trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Some of the last great works. The Art of the Fugue and the Musical Offering, and then come on, some of the great monster works like the Passions. Those are extraordinary compositions. And there's just so much of it. And all the instrumental music and the arrangements and everything. But more than that, for me, is just the constant level of craft.
Yeah, the consistency.
And there's some interesting pieces that B minor, is it B flat minor, B minor fugue in the first book, which is basically a 12-tone row.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's some beautiful stuff where if you took it through time and through stylistic differences, it would be very romantic.
Oh yeah.
Melodic stuff or even atmospheric stuff. I love the E flat minor prelude from the first book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So painful and so beautiful and so operatic.
Yeah.
Kind of
I mean, the left-hand figuration.
Yeah.
It almost comes up homophonic.
Well, that's the E minor. I'm
minor?
thinking E flat minor.
Oh, E flat minor? Okay.
Okay. But I know what you mean. But anyway, and I think that's why all composers
forgive us, guys.
When other countries or cultures around the world, they get off on Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Great. And it's a great work. Wonderful work. Hackneyed to death in cases, misunderstood, misappropriated. The words themselves are very wonderful because it comes from a period of time where man freed himself from unhealthy constraints of the church, and 18th century humanism and deism became something that led to the modern age. I think those are good things. Myself, I mean, religion is fine, but where it hurt people and kept them down and controlled and not free of all their powers, whatever does that, that's never a good thing. Politics, religion, whoever does it. But Beethoven espoused that kind of thing. I get that. But yeah, when Bach writes about God, it's a Protestant thing, of course. So the individual is communicating with the divine, but in a sense aware of his own divinity and his own relationship directly with God and that power. It's very empowering stuff. I mean, there have been people that wrote gorgeous melodies, beautiful music, powerful music. And then there's a whole other field there with Wagner and his mythology and music and all that stuff. But I think the reason why all those pictures always have Bach up there at the top of the stairs, he deserves it.
Yeah, he earned it. Definitely.
Nobody, I mean, people have come close. People maybe have, well, maybe, kind of.
Maybe, kind of.
But let's put it this way. I mean, Beethoven wrote fugues. People tried and studied it.
Yeah.
But he does it so. He makes it seem easy.
Yeah.
It's just and the variety of
the clarity of thought,
the variety of the idea,
yeah.
And then he brings in a voice, brings in another voice, brings in another voice, and the structure works.
Yeah.
It's harmonic.
Yeah.
It works vertically in terms of the harmony.
So we'll just poke at this note and alter it this way. Now we're in a new key. Yeah.
Really, amazing brilliance,
So
I can see why musicians, play Bach for their whole lives. And frankly, for me, I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
And I said it was interesting. I think you found the story in your cello suites book.
Oh yeah, the cello suites. Yeah.
When Casals discovered the music in Barcelona and played it for 20 or 30 years before.
12 years. He practiced them
before he brought
practiced them 12 years.
And yet, I know that Picasso used to say, not Casals. I actually was decent on the piano, as some people are. He used to say that for him to warm up his fingers before he started to practice every day, or just to play some music, just to get himself in the spirit, he played Bach Prelude and Fugues on the keyboard.
Wow.
And it was just a private affair, just to do that. And I find, honestly, I practice some Bach. I've thought about maybe bringing the Chromatic Fantasy back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Playing that in public. But I've also been looking at Bach in transcription by some other composers.
Yeah.
When it comes to pure Bach, I don't know how to explain it, but it seems like something so intimate and private. I don't want to do that in public with people. Or I don't want to take that experience into a kind of a pressing recital kind of situation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you understand what I mean. It's just, I've gotten to where I love having this private conversation and working out these problems and things with it. It's for me.
Yeah.
And I'm playing more of the Preludes and Fugues from the second book than I ever have.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd ever perform them for people. I don't know. It's something I like to do. Man, there's certain lovely compositions of Bach, so much so that someone has transcribed it, and put it on the piano. That kind of thing, I feel, that would be nice to present, to play in a public setting for somebody. But the real stuff, I don't know how to explain that because I admire many people's performing of it, but there's no rational reason probably. I just feel it's just between me and Bach.
Yeah.
Just me, just us. We just do it. I don't have a rational reason. But that's changed. I mean, everybody used to have to play Bach.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had to do it for our auditions in college.
And it's not that I don't love the music and I don't love the feeling, emotion. I really don't get it, but it's like a part of me that I want to keep for me.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
Well, that was good. So
we want to do the reveal about your music before you go?
Oh yes, I was going to get to that.
I know what the first one is. Can I say the first one?
All right, name the first one.
That's Mephisto Waltz.
Absolutely. And then the bass comes in. What does that sound like to you?
I thought it was like an ostinato from a jazz kind of thing or something.
No, it's just I got that. It's just I got that from a simple finger exercise.
That's what I thought. It's like Hammond or something.
No, it was, well, not quite Hammond. It might be Hammond. It could, but I've heard it done in like one of those shite exercises or something like that, or something like that. I can't remember.
Okay.
But so then the right hand comes in. Ya-dee-da. What is that?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that before. That's Rachmaninoff.
It is the prelude to C sharp minor.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
before.
so that's what it is. Well, because the harmony kind of throws you off.
Yeah.
Yes. So after that, there's a bridge. There's a short transition. Remember?
Oh. Is it Fritz Kreisler?
No, not quite. All right. I'll just tell you. It's sort of a revised in the Hall of Mountain King.
Oh, great. Good for you.
Okay.
So he's got Liszt, Rachmaninoff,
Grieg,
and exercise.
Next. All right. What's the next one? You know this one. What is it?
Zero Koenig of Schubert.
There you go. All right. Then after that, we go to that figuration. I got that from, and it's hard to catch. Okay, I mean it's sort of strings along this way, and it's basically the pickup notes to the Turkish March Rondo by Mozart.
Wow.
So that's what
Very
that
creative,
is.
dude.
Okay, and then when you get to the end of the scalar thing, da dee dee da da dee dee da, you know what that is.
Do I?
Yes, you do. Da, 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 da. Who would play figurations like that? Da, 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 da. It sounds like what are your favorite composers, Mark? Brahms.
Oh.
Brahms. It's sort of.
I get it.
It's sort of like the piano.
That hadn't occurred to me though.
It's the piano coming in for the first concerto.
I know for the first concerto.
Right, the first piano concerto. Right?
I get it.
Okay. And then that's the end. No, not quite. The right hand figuration, all right, is taken from the Chopin Etude number 4.
4.
Okay.
Yes.
But what's in the left hand?
I don't remember.
Oh, you know
it.
Da dee da da.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dies Irae.
Dies Irae.
Wow.
So there you have it.
Holy smokes, there's a ton of stuff in there.
Yes, there's a ton of stuff in there.
But some of them I wasn't real clear on, but now I can.
You can sort of hear it now, right?
Yeah.
Left hand.
That's really brilliant.
No, it's not brilliant. It's
Well, it sounds like a coherent composition, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. But like I said, I borrowed all those things from these composers, and you know what the sad part is? It's something I loathe about some. Okay, I'm sorry. I hate to say this to all you composition majors out there. Okay.
Ruh-roh.
Yes. All right. I'll leave it up to you if you want to censor this or edit this thing out. But my gosh, I know a few composers out there that make it a habit of using phrases and excerpts from other composers and then trying to frame it as your own.
Oh,
It's please, it's you're a composer. Think outside the box. You could do anything you want. And this day and age, you could do anything you want as a composer.
I remember seeing
It's just that
figure
it's
recently
basically
about in an
and
octave
really-
with the notes that you have available.
yeah.
The possible combinations to create a melody.
It's
It's-
utterly
it's-
endless.
Yeah, it's astonishingly huge number.
Yeah.
I don't even
The
know.
permutations.
It's not infinitesimal,
by itself
but it's way up there.
Yeah.
Just look at Mr. Bach.
Yeah. Exactly.
He
What
just
I'm
came
saying,
up with
yeah.
one after the next.
And there's no shame in repeating yourself. There's no shame in it. The second movement to the help me out. What number is it? The F minor one. Is it
Opus
number
2.
4? The keyboard concerto number 4.
Are you talking about Bach?
I'm talking about Bach.
Oh,
the
yeah.
keyboard concerto number
Yeah.
4, the slow movement.
Right.
He's used that movement before in a violin concerto.
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's been done before.
Yeah.
There's no shame in it.
Yeah.
If you came up with an idea, go ahead and repeat yourself. There's nothing wrong. It's yours. Okay, but why? But I've seen some. And I've seen
You really
some.
see people stealing like that a lot?
I saw. Yeah, I have. There's a few
Stealing or
compositions.
borrowing?
No, it's not borrowing.
It's
It's
not.
an actual quote.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they'll do the darndest things. They'll take like an excerpt from Rachmaninoff's arrangement of the Flight of the Bumblebee. Okay, they'll take that phrase, put it here, and then they'll take a phrase from Scott Joplin's The Entertainer, the actual notes, and paste it over here, and that's supposed to be a composition.
No.
Yes, I've seen it done before.
Do people get away with it?
Yeah, that's why it's on clearance over at
And
Stanton's.
they're not doing it as a humorous gesture or...
No, it's a composition. They'll
They
give
don't
it.
do it like wink wink to Bach or Rachmaninoff.
No, it's nothing like that. There's one piece that's called Ragtime, and he just takes like a phrase out of The Entertainer, and he took Flight of the Bumblebee, and then there's like 3 or 4 other composers that he takes from, and he just pastes it here and there, and then he repeats himself, puts the Flight of the Bumblebee at the end, and that's an ABA form.
Huh.
They didn't do anything.
In
They didn't do anything. They just took it from other composers.
Bach's
and
case, he
and-
transcribed some other instrumental works for keyboard solo.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And he
And he gave
attributes it.
credit.
Yeah,
He gave credit.
attributes it.
The organ concerto, the one that he took, that he borrowed from one of Vivaldi's Concerto Grosso.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Then August. Well, I brought it in once for you. Once the August Straddle.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with it. Please, if you're a composer out there, just leave these composers' music alone and try not to pass it off as yours.
I get
It's not-
like Rubinstein said about himself, and I think about myself too.
Yeah.
Rarely I've been inspired. Actually, the one piece I'm really quite well known for, which I think just kind of like, I'm trying to be new age or anything, but it just like came to me and through me. I almost feel like I can't take credit for it.
Yeah.
It's the E minor piece that Gulai set it to. Yazulmaz. But it's hard being a truly creative artist, like a writer or composer. Copeland, actually, I saw a quotation a while back. People asked him at some point when he was older, he said, why don't you compose anymore?
Yeah.
Well, the ideas just aren't there.
Yeah.
He said, you know, they don't come like they used to, and frankly,
It doesn't flow.
it doesn't flow, and he said it just doesn't work like it used to, so I just stopped. You know, that's when he got into conducting his own music and things like that at the end of his career. But there was a point where he stopped, and then I know, you know, famous stories about writers. Hemingway talked about his process. You know, different people have different rigor. Like Rachmaninoff made it. He had a very rigorous morning ritual. Get up in the morning, and he would have his coffee and read the newspapers, and he'd sit down and he would write music for 2 hours.
Wow.
Period. Just write. And then he'd practice for part of the afternoon, you know, until it was time to go out for a walk and stuff.
That's good.
Depending on what he had to do, but he just did it every day. You know, he had a space set aside for it, and for 2 hours, we're going to do it. And then there's other people, you know, drinking like crazy because they're looking for inspiration and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's especially, I mean, in Mozart's day, let's say all the way until the late 19th century, or it's kind of the mid to later 19th century, all the music that was ever performed, written, and heard in Western culture was new music.
Yeah.
Mozart wrote 27 piano concertos because nobody wanted to hear the other ones.
Yep.
Had to keep writing them.
Keep writing them,
And
exactly.
Haydn wrote, what, 108 symphonies?
Symphonies. Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear the other one, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted old music, especially in Haydn's lifetime. The styles changed so much. I mean, he went way before Mozart, all the way to mid-Beethoven.
Yeah. Well, it's like what Liszt said. He says having an audience at a concert is like a beast that has to be constantly fed.
Yeah.
You know, something new, something,
Right.
you know, he says you can't keep feeding them the same
Right.
stuff. They have to be constantly fed something different.
And there was a movement. I know Mendelssohn was probably historically credited for being one of the earlier ones when he brought back Bach. But there was that guy, was it Charles Haller? I forget what his name was. A British pianist.
Yep.
Was the first one in the mid-19th century to play all the Beethoven sonatas in concerts.
That's the one.
Was it Haller? Charles
It was Holly.
We started to look backwards. I mean, what's his name? Doug Troy, the German archaeologist.
Oh, I've heard you mention him.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
But once that got started, then we started to go backwards and things. And now what we've got, I mean, what we're talking about, where we're digging up the bottom part of the icebergs, you know, to bring things to people's attention. There is so much. And we have the technological ways of hearing it, or seeing it, or restoring it,
Yeah.
or restoring it,
Yeah.
that we've never really had such riches before to be able to explore these things and know it. I think it would put an even greater strain on a creative artist to come up with something new.
Yeah.
Totally new? Wow.
Yeah.
And yet, of course, it's possible.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
It
there's
is.
plenty of musicians, composers, performers, artists, writers. Wow. A lot of cool things, but maybe also by going back and discovering some stuff that's got a lot of dust on it we forgot about, might find some inspiration to continue in that vein.
Yeah, exactly.
That might have been let go, you know, or forgotten or something like that.
Well,
we got to roll on.
Well, it's pretty soon. Hey, look, all you composers out there, you know, I'm sorry to be, you know, ranting on you, but, you know, I have faith in our composers, okay? All of you. All of you have something to offer. All of you have something to say. Don't be afraid to say it. You know, just whatever you do, put it in your computer or write it down. It's our language. Okay.
The important thing, it has to come from the heart.
Yes, absolutely.
If it's inspired and has integrity, then you got to do what you got to do. You put it out there for the world to judge it on a lot of different things. And it may or may not fly, may never take wing. It might become quite popular. But when you've created it and then you present it for review by your peers or by the public or anything like that, you have to go, whatever they say, you can't control it.
Yeah.
Because whatever moves them, that's that. So it doesn't mean squelch your creative spirit, but just be prepared for the reality that, as we said before, maybe only 1/4 to 1/3 of the iceberg ever makes it above the water.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you liked our content, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, make a few comments.
Yeah.
Maybe you like to hear some other conversations about other topics or other pieces of music. Let us know at the bottom.
Yeah, the cool thing is I'm hoping by this next week we may be contemporaneous with our recording and release and upload. If you have a suggestion for a topic or something you want us to look into or research, you can mention that on Facebook. That's kind of the forum space for all our stuff. I don't know if you can do that on YouTube or not. I guess you could put comments on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they're connected. Our Marc Elmer's PSI on YouTube and Facebook, or you can go one to the other. So, hope to get a lot more followers, a lot more people involved, and we're working on some ideas for certain special projects that we want to address, and that's going to take a little bit more planning and structure. But thank you, Elmer, for all the interesting stuff you bring and all the ideas you bring.
And we have one more assignment left here. Okay, so remember that party we talked about? Invite 10 composers to it. Tell us why you want to invite them. Okay?
Yeah.
We'll have our reveal next episode.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have our reveal next week. And be prepared, because I'll have another assignment for you after that.
So I'm Mark.
I'm Elmer.
And this is
PSI.
Scene Investigations. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for being here.